Hello. Great. Sound is working. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for being here. If you're here, we are under the Reverie Roundtable in just a second. We got some guests. We're gonna do some talking. We're gonna do some yelling. And it'll be fun. I think you'll like it. And so we move forward. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Hey, friend. You're doing well.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am alive.
I hope that's you view that as a positive.
Oh, it is.
Not a complaint.
Not a complaint.
Okay. That's reassuring.
Well, we're getting things started off right.
I hope you don't have some massive stocks in whatever the Nasdaq or I don't even know what this.
The Nasdaq.
All I see is.
I haven't. So I haven't actually seen the results of that yet. Sorry. Okay, interesting. What's this? Sorry, something popped up on my screen. But I haven't actually seen that. I mean, had seen previously the was it the S&P or was it the Nasdaq? I forget. Tanking when Trump was talking about like reintroducing the tariffs. Right, there was people were talking about showing the ticker as it like dropped as he was talking. But I haven't seen like today. How bad is it? Lag to it. How much trouble are you in?
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's not that bad for me. I invest in like some of the safest stocks there are. I just like S&P 500 ETFs, right? So it's down like 1% or so, but it's not.
I think year to date, I think it's like down 5%. Basically, we're worse off today than we were a year ago. Even though the golden age of America started on day one.
Look, now's the time to buy.
Amen.
Stocks are on sale. That's the way you look at it. Okay.
Okay, so I'll whatever you buy, don't hold. You're willing to buy now and like prove that you bought some stocks.
Yeah, I just deposited a lot of money, and a lot of money for me, into my stock account, and yeah, I mean now's the time. Well, I mean, hold on, just to be clear, I'm not like giving specific trading advice. This is just what I do. When the stocks go down, I buy them, and when they go and then I almost never sell. But that way, if you buy them when they go down, you get a better deal for when they go up.
Oh, you're gonna buy the dip. Oh wow, fancy.
Buy the dip. That's right.
Lag to it. But my problem is
That's absolutely correct, though.
Oh yeah, I mean that's right. But my problem is, why are you so boring? Okay, all right. Of course, I expect that you would. Oh, I buy the safest assets, right? Of course you would. I expect nothing more from you, Lagtoid. I guess I can never expect anything exciting. I was like, hey, I wanted to take a chance on a startup or anything like that.
Gotcha. You would expect that I would put all my life savings into meme coin options. That would be that'd be a good idea. Yeah. That I would short pharma stocks. It's always a good idea. Yeah.
Hey, listen, you can invest in Gibbs Aerodynamics. It's going to be.
Oh, that sounds like a great stock to invest in. That sounds like definitely won't lose all my money. That's a good idea.
We're going to be teaching pigs to fly, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Off the shelves is bacon. I forgot to mention the second part, but you know.
But okay, so yeah, but sorry, I'm a little distracted. Things going on in the background.
You're good. We're just starting up.
Yeah, and Gibbs, read that DM I sent you if you could, just to.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, great. So Lactoid. So this is random, which is the best kind of questions because usually that starts us down a path. But I was just for reasons. Okay, reasons. You don't have to go any deeper than that. I was wondering about.
I'm not gay.
About
for reasons.
I was wondering about sex in public bathrooms. Okay. So I was wondering, friend. So I was wondering, like, obviously, you're with like a decent exposure, right? Like, you could be charged with, maybe a litany of crimes if you have sex. Like, if you happen in an alleyway, right? You're trying to be exciting, and then like a cop stumbles on you right in the middle of the act. You can get all kinds of trouble. However, what if you have sex in a like a bathroom within a store, right? It's a private store, but the public can use it, right? They can walk in and they can use the bathrooms, the publicly available bathroom, but then you get caught, right, having sex in it, like by an employee or something. Do you think you can get charged with like the same sex crimes? I mean, maybe trespass.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so.
You-
If
You
it's
own
like
the store?
no, no, it doesn't matter, right? But it's like if it's like a private bathroom and you go in there and like there's not it's not exposure to the public net per se, right?
Mhm.
And then you walk out and they know what you did and they kick you out for violating the rules. I think like trying to get you for a sex crime would be super hard in that circumstance. What would be easier though is if it's like you walk in and right there on top of the urinal, right? I mean that potentially could be like if it's a public restroom with like
That's
multiple
just
urinals. And stuff.
unsanitary.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Any kind of sex in a public bathroom is going to be unsanitary. To some extent.
Yeah,
Well, I
100%.
can at least say I can.
Any
whatever.
sex is
What's
unsanitary to some extent.
Well, that's half the fun.
Living is
the
unsanitary. You
aspect.
want to go down that road?
My man, my man Gibbs understands that, right? He gets it.
Yeah.
He gets the fun.
Yeah, you gotta get the degradation and the nastiness.
Oh
You're
my
real
God.
gross in this bitch. Yeah, come on.
There's no way I can be any sort of turned on if I'm like near a urinal or whatnot.
Oh, man, well, you're just missing out on the most fun you'll
No,
ever
I'm
have.
not. I know that I'm not missing out on.
The smell of the
Whatever.
urinal. Oh God.
You gotta put the head in the urinal. You put the head in the urinal. Never mind. Sorry.
Don't give away your trade secrets, Gibbs. Come on.
Maybe we should. We'll write a book.
Oh my God, Gibbs! One day, man, I'm going to sit down and just listen to all your stories, right? I want to let it wash all over me. I mean, not like a urinal,
it's just
right?
a choice of words. You're gonna probably need a wash afterwards.
But okay, so Lactoid, what if you lived out, you were out in like the general country, like the rolling hills, right? Like the green pastures, okay? Right?
The woods, the swamps, yeah.
You are away from like a public road or anything, but then you're having sex out, like like I got a picnic basket and picnic blanket, right? And you get busy. And then, right, the police come roaring through because they're looking for like a dead body, right? And in that area, right? And they find you two in a compromising position. Now you are outside in public, and someone saw you. Would that count?
Probably. Yeah, they could probably get you for that. I don't know how much they pursue it, but I mean, this happens most frequently, like in public parks, like even the big public parks. Yeah, you can get people for that. Enforcement varies by jurisdiction. I mean, if you live in a blue city, you could probably see homeless people fucking right there on your
But just the
street.
blue city. Yeah, homeless people only fucking blue cities. Okay,
that's right. Because in red cities they bring down the hammer. No, maybe a little bit more probably. But out in the country, I mean, the likelihood of you getting caught is probably pretty low. But yeah, a cop could do it. You could face some kind of penalty for that.
Okay. All right.
Are you planning a date or something? What's this all about?
He's reserved the urinal, the special urinal.
Disgusting, dude.
That's not bad. But no. I mean, eventually, yes. I mean, first it requires a woman. But eventually, yes. In the future, planning a date. All right. It was just just stumbled upon that question. Yeah. No big deal.
Sure.
All right. So we're still waiting for a few other people to get here. Hopefully they will get here soon. Oh, there's Grid. Oh, and Ali, we don't see you in your camera, but maybe he's still. All right. So what are you two feeling? Or
I got
three,
some. I
excuse
got.
me.
I got a topic, but I want to wait till Ali comes in. It has to do with that new situation with Mahmoud, the
I'm with a
college kid who's
boss. Oh no.
no.
Yes. Sorry.
What about old H3 getting death threats and stuff, and all his new his claims that he's put out saying that they're like stalking him and his kids? Did y'all see any of this?
No. Could you explain?
Yeah, it just came out like 4 hours ago, so I hadn't really got to watch all of it. I watched like a synopsis on it real fast. But
Okay.
he's basically claiming that the Hassan people and Reddit are enabling stalkers to like track his kids around and shit, and they're like trying to mess with his kids and like to get to him because of the content nuke he put out on Hassan.
Wouldn't surprise me. I don't actually
Yeah.
know, but Hassan's crowd's pretty awful.
Oh, what was that about Hassan? Like, what, getting banned for a day? Didn't he say something pretty
Yeah.
shitty? I think. Didn't he say something about
He
like
said Rick Scott should someone should take out Rick Scott. Basically.
Jesus Christ and a day? Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, it's better than zero. It's a start.
I think new game plan. I think that we should get Hassan on these panels, and then we can say whatever we want.
We can say whatever the hell we want. Yeah. Exactly.
He would never have the courage to come on and like.
He would have the-
No,
I don't
he,
think so.
he doesn't even have to talk. He can just be like a little. He can just be part of it, and then we could talk. And it's like
By
he's like a
default.
condom from Twitch.
Yeah. Exactly.
Not a really
I don't
good
know. I
record.
mean,
A condom
I
that
think
might
that-
end up in a urinal. You know. That's
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that Bezos is like maybe cracking down a little bit. I think that seems to be like because apparently was displeased when the advertisers left in droves, is what I read some reports from like forums and some other places have said. And then about right after those like reports came out, they changed the TOS rules and like mass unbannings, right? Like Mel, for example, I brought her up maybe a week or two ago. She got a ban, and literally in the unban email she got, it says, you are basically guilty of the things that we banned you for, but we're going to offer you like clemency. And so they're not even like saying that you should be unbanned, and they're unbanning people now. And I'm wondering if that's an attempt by like maybe Bezos telling Clancy like, hey bro, we're losing money on some of this stuff, and y'all lost advertisers. Get some of these people back. And maybe like, and it's like, and then that's what this ban is indicative of. He's like sending a message that it's equal sides now.
I feel like it's unlikely that Bezos actually pays much attention to Twitch
Yeah,
at
to
all.
Twitch. I don't know how big Twitch is, but that's like a small blip on
It's
the Amazon
tiny.
whatever. Like
It's tiny, right? I'm sure like if there's like a sector in his company that has like continuous losses, right? He might go, hey man, what's going on with that? But like the amount of money that Twitch brings in, right? The size of it in the portfolio is absolutely minuscule. So but that doesn't mean, of course, like the CEO or whoever, whatever his title is, doesn't have pressures on his own to perform. So still, like the thing you're saying can still be true in that like they're having
sure.
pressures to bring in advertisements. I heard, and I didn't know this until just recently though, that they made a change that like there no advertisements, no ad dollars on like bathtubs, right? The bath the hot tub thing, the hot tub
you can still take a
experience.
bath on Twitch, but no hot.
And apparently ASMR I'm hearing as well, that a lot of these like they've been like demonetized, which like makes sense, right? You can still do them, right, and like get in a shit ton of sub money, right? But then this won't affect the advertisers. Advertisers don't have to worry about their thing coming on.
So I was talking to well, I won't say who I was talking to, but I was talking to him, and they were telling me they've tried very much like unsexing their streams up, because if you get any kind of like because they'll go back and look at your streams and like post content, label it sometimes now even, and if they do that, then it like eliminates you from any ad revenue on like even your VODs, and even like if you made ad revenue during your stream. I guess that's why it's not instantly given to you. They'll like take it off now. So some of these big streamers I know are like very much like, oh, we're having to change. Like they'll come in there and be like, oh, I didn't wear fishnets because I didn't want to potentially be put in a sexual category like thing, even though they're like, you know, fishnets over like shorts or something that are like, it's not even like that provocative, right? And I was like, that's kind of interesting. And like they've said that even camera angles now are like affecting it, but it's what they were telling me.
Yeah,
They guess they're partner managers were saying, oh, like if you have like a camera facing you certain ways, then it's like an auto classification, even if you're like fully covered. I was like, that's kind of crazy.
They had already started banning certain camera angles, but like now I've got a big problem. I didn't know, right, that streamers had to unsexify their streams. I mean, like I'm gonna have to wear like a hijab or something, because I'm like, what am I gonna do? Yeah, like I mean, like I got look at all these guys, these thirst traps here, right on my screen. I think we need to no chance that we're gonna survive here.
Choice
Someone for everyone.
Mighty tasty.
What'd you say?
Me, I said lactose pineapples on his shirt look mighty tasty.
I need to lose weight.
I wonder if that was a signal, by the way. I think it's a signal that lactoid's wearing the pineapples.
He likes pineapples? I don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know you don't know the pineapple signal?
I'm definitely not. He likes SpongeBob.
A swinger?
Yeah, so like if you go on a cruise, you put a pineapple sticker on your door, and then like upside down means like anybody can walk in, and like if you put it like on there, it just means you are a swinger. And then like if you wear pineapple clothes, that means like, hey, come talk to me, I'm a swinger. It's like code. And there's even like villages in Florida for old people that they had like extremely high STD rates because they switched from the pineapple system to like this color coded like system where they would have red, yellow, green. Yeah. So, but the pineapple's the age old swinger thing. Yeah, look it up. The pineapple, the swinger thing. It's all over like swinger talk and normal shit. It's crazy.
Yeah, normal stuff, of course. The pineapple system.
The pineapple thing is a major thing.
I mean, I
don't know why you think I'm making this up. Like,
no, I believe you.
No, I believe you.
I have no problem admitting I'm ignorant on these things.
Yeah,
Lactoid seems incredulous.
Yeah.
I'm finding this on Reddit, so it must be true.
It also makes your jizz taste good, so that's why.
That's why I thought you were going with this.
Yeah. I mean, so.
All right. Well,
any sweet fruit will, I guess.
So I had no idea. I learned something today. Apparently, I'm going to be very careful wearing this shirt from going forward. Definitely not going to bring it on any cruises.
Don't wear it upside down.
Well, not business. Don't wear it business meetings either. With under a suit.
Yeah, definitely don't wear it upside down. Yeah.
The guy might offer his like wife to use part of a business deal.
Hold on, Lactoid. Come on. Now, actually, oh God, it's every time I have to.
I'm not going to participate in the violation of somebody's vows. That is a horribly immoral thing to do.
Hold on, but are you okay, just in general, right? With just like straight up a casual sex thing, right? That like, hey, like a lady lets you know that she's available, right? You're unattached. You do something and then. Yeah, you guys never talk again, right? And you just go your separate ways amicably. Like, are you against that?
I mean, sort of, yeah. I don't think it's like good behavior. Like, look, in the same way that smoke and cigarettes or drinking or anything like that, I don't think it's like a good thing for you to do. I think that is something that generally doesn't lead to good things overall. But it's not like. I don't know. It's not like immoral in the sense that I think you're a bad person if you do it.
It's okay.
It's just unhealthy. It's like eating a fudge brownie. You're like, oh, this tastes good now, but you might pay for it later.
Yo, wait a minute.
Which is part of the problem. Hello? Like can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys saw it, but I had a debate last week, and I was crushing it as usual. But I was going back
3-hour Ukraine debate. Yeah, I watched the entire thing. Fuck you for making me watch that.
And Ollie, I crushed it, didn't I?
You did. I think you did. I think you did well. But you left me with so many questions I want to ask you tonight.
Who did you crush? Was it
Ukrainian Anna and I forget
Dylan Burns,
Dylan Burns,
Mercado, and all. Anyway,
yeah, it's been a wonderful week of debates all around.
Yeah, no, I was really happy with my performance, but I did see at one point in a still frame, I looked a little bit bigger than I perceived myself to be. Then I weighed myself, and I gained 5 pounds. What the fuck? My BMI is. Yeah, I'm not obese yet, but I'm close. This is not good.
Hey, you know what that's called? That's called being able to afford eggs right now because You're making enough money to be able to eat good, bro. You should take
get
part.
fat
We're
off
going
of,
back.
like,
We're
50
going.
pieces
We're
of
going
food.
back to the status quo of fatter people are richer and attractive again.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
we're back to that.
We can
Lactoid,
afford it.
if
That's
you
it.
get
I,
goat
for one, am welcome.
positive.
I still rock with the fit. The fit are the rich.
I also want to
you know.
say, as far as debates on Wix last week, I made somebody rage quit, and then they called me a Nazi afterwards. So
You
I
did.
think that's a win.
I saw
This
that
is
as well.
nothing
I
but
did
W's
prime
on Wix
that rage
panels
quit.
these
I
days.
thought I
Nothing
was
but
going to get
W.
rage quit.
Wait, Lactoid. You confused me so much. Once again, I watched the whole 3.5 hours.
And you admit that I won. Go ahead.
I don't know that one. I don't know if you won. I disagreed with you. I still disagreed with you with almost all of your points. It's very confusing. Why do you care so much that the Ukrainian dude got cooed out and then kicked out of their country? What happened? I tried so hard to pay attention and focus on that.
Lactoid was so intensely boring that it made it difficult. I hear you.
No, he wasn't boring. He wasn't boring. I mean,
those ETFs, Prime.
yeah, you just gotta learn to you gotta learn to fight back and be a little exciting. But like, yeah, what the fuck do you care if the Ukrainians kicked out their dude? If anything,
because I'm fucking paying for it. What do you? Why do I care? Why do I care about the history of the conflict?
You're paying for everything. I don't want to hear.
I'm paying for everything, so I might as well pay for more.
I mean, yeah. Once I hear you start complaining about the other things that are complaining, well,
I complain about the other things. I complain about a lot of things.
I haven't seen you go like so gung ho. Like Russia's like your thing. Like Russia, Ukraine's like your bag.
It's not my bag at all. Well, hold on. This is not my bag at all. I did one
to have a debate with someone on this specifically. I watched that debate. You were in your shit. You had the dates, the times, the coup, whatever the fuck these people's names were. You're just off the top of the dome because Eastern European names just chilling.
He could have just made it all up.
This is your bag. This is your bag. I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand it as like an American. I thought it'd be like so cool. Like, yeah, these people like they kicked their president that they didn't want out. Like, I think that's dope. That's badass. No,
I know a lot about it because this is a situation where you can find panels of me going back a year ago where I was like ultra pro Ukraine, right? For very much the same logic that you're talking about, Ali.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, and I've had multiple discussions in this, and I've been learned things and done research on things, and learning all these specific names and these specific dates and these specific events. I've begun to realize, like, okay, well, there's these facts of the matter, and I present these facts of the matter to people, and the response I get is one of just vitriol, right? So, you're talking about the coup, and you don't care that there was a coup. That's a position. But when I presented the fact it was a coup, the knee-jerk response was, no, it's not. No, it's not. And that's Russian propaganda. Shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
That pisses me off because now the question is, well, why don't you want me to investigate this? Why don't you want me to talk about this? Why is there such a just this stigma against actually investigating this? And that obviously motivated me to do even more digging. And yeah, I began to realize that there's a lot of things that I think the American people are being lied to. And I think the American people are being lied to in order to fund something that's not advantageous to their position. Mm-hmm. And I think and also there's a moral cases to be made, and there's a lot of things the Ukrainians have been doing that is wrong, and nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to give a fuck. And I know you can relate to this to some extent because there's a lot of people. Because there's a lot of people.
In Israel, Palestine, I don't see no bitching there. I don't see no complaints about our dollars anywhere there.
Well, a couple things.
White House just tweeted shalom, by the way. I just want to let it be recognized, brother.
Whoa. Nothing wrong with shalom. I did before you joined. I did bring up Mahmoud. Incident.
That's what I was talking about.
Yes,
the tweet.
We can talk about that. In fact, I've tweeted about it right before this panel, and I think it is a concern that we should briefly talk about. And I think that there is an argument you could make for the U.S. funding of Israel. You can make those arguments.
I sent it in the chat.
But what I'm mostly upset about, though, and I think that you can probably understand this too, if somebody comes to you and they're having like an Israel discussion, and they're super pro-Israel, but every time you bring a point, they respond to the point, you're probably not going to get so upset, okay?
Mm-mm.
But if you have a conversation with somebody who's like super pro-Israel, and every time you bring up a point, they just say, "Oh, that's just because you're anti-Semitic and you hate Jews." If that's their response every single time, are you gonna and you begin to notice this among large groups of people? Isn't that gonna piss you off like a little bit? Like, wow, it seems like you're just repeating the dogmatic talking point.
Yeah, the whole Russian propaganda thing I can see being annoying. It's just you were talking to like the two people who would just throw that at your face. You were talking to a girl in the Ukraine, and then Dylan Burns, who like are obviously like
I was talking to what I thought was the preeminent voices on Ukraine, the people who would be able to present the biggest fight against me. Because when I bring up these points to other people,
YouTube.
On Twitch,
in the world.
Well, look, I'm sure Zelensky could maybe make a different argument, but on Twitch poll, like the people that I have access to, these were the preeminent people, right? You know, I brought this stuff up to other people. When I would bring these points up to counterpoints, right? His response to me would be like, well, I bet Dylan Burns would destroy you on that. And so I'm like, fine. Like, we eventually got it together. And they didn't have answers. They didn't have answers to any of this shit.
I think that there's...
go ahead, Gibbs.
Who cares what...
Probably,
who cares?
Wait, just real quick. I think that like it's easy to say that like, maybe there's something going on here where the people get protective of the way that you go about investigating issues or having conversations. Like, I think that that's a fair thing to bring up, but it's also equally as possible, probably more likely, that anytime you're dealing with a subject that people find sensitive to, that involves someone they see as a victim, the questioning of that can become complicated. Mm-hmm. If you talk about, like, let's say there's a news story comes out about a 25-year-old white girl that was molested by 17 men, and like she's obviously a victim in this situation, and if someone starts having a conversation like, I think maybe she's done some crimes before, maybe we should look into that, there is a real like guttural reaction to say that, like, why are you doing that at this point? Why are you like attacking this victim? Maybe that person is coming from some honest perspective of just trying to do the research or just trying to have the full conversation, but you also understand why, like, what the emotional response comes to.
No, I hate that point so much. I understand what you're saying.
Like it, I'm saying.
I'll explain why I hate it. I understand. I understand like where you're coming from, but like I hate that mentality, because when you show up on a debate panel in which you're told ahead of time it is a debate and you're going to be debating this, and you have for years now spent your time preoccupied with understanding this conflict and arguing in favor of this conflict, in some respects, and quote unquote being an expert on this, and somebody challenges you on this topic. And if your response is just to get emotional, like, why even show up to the debate then? Why even show up to discuss the specifics?
That's not mutually exclusive. You can be emotional, still make good points, though. Like, I didn't see like the full debate. I saw maybe like some highlights, but like
you should watch the full debate.
But I'm curious in terms of, if you ask Ukrainian Anna or Dylan, I don't know that they would characterize it the same way. But like, emotional is not necessarily mutually exclusive to like being making good points and debating. Right.
I watched it. It did.
It's not necessarily, but it was in that discussion.
It was a little bit. It was rhetoric. It was rhetoric versus like really factual questions of like specific things and times and dates, and then like the response to that would be like rhetoric.
Yeah.
Like eventually Anna did give in to you and be like, "Hey, it was a coup. Who gives a fuck?" And like,
yeah. Eventually, and then she brushed past it. But her initial answer was no, it wasn't a coup. It was. They were all over the place, right? It's like. I thought these guys would know the topic enough to debate it with me.
Well, no, because the way you were, my bad, Corey, I cut you off for this, but the way you were arguing coup, you were kind of doing like this whole thing of it was unconstitutional. The Ukrainian people had no right to do that, and it's like
it was unconstitutional.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's like they evicted the dude that was elected. That's the whole point.
Well, they did remove the dude who was elected. Right?
Yes. What I find really interesting though.
This budding democracy was built on a coup.
We're trying to talk. So Corey apparently got interrupted. So if you want to say something, then we go to Bam. Then we go to Gibbs.
Well, I was just going to sort of like, I guess, whatever, finish my point in terms of like, Lacto just pointed out that they're emotional. Like, that's also not a debate point in your favor. Like, just saying that they were emotional, therefore they had bad points. Like, that also doesn't address the argument, right?
What I'm saying is that they were emotional and angry in lieu of any good points. Like, you can watch the whole thing. I was cut off every like 4 words. It was a struggle to get any kind of like.
Well, how slow were you speaking?
Yeah,
I was speaking actually pretty quickly. I had
I will give Lactoid that. I watched the entire thing. They were really like, it was more like emotional rhetoric to like, like, because I mean, Lactoid's point is kind of annoying if you're Dylan or it's irritating, bro.
It's
facts are
inconvenient.
annoying.
It's inconvenient. I would
Yeah.
say.
And then to be fair, it's like, I mean, you have like what just happened with like tenant media. You have what happened in like the past of like, you know, Facebook and all this Russian interference. So it's kind of like, damn, bro, this kind of just sound like Russian shilling real quick, you know?
That's what they say whenever they get challenged on anything.
So it was really
unless
annoying.
you give maximal money to Ukraine, you're a Russian shill, and you can't be trusted.
Let's go to a Bam then Gibbs.
Mm-hmm. I was saying again, this is without me being a part of the conversation at all, but when you're framing of like, oh, they eventually admitted to it being a coup, was it an initial? You made your initial point. There was a disagreement, and then was there like a clarifying of definitions?
Because no, it wasn't. What it was the very classic, like, first it never happened, then like, you know, it's propaganda if you say it happened, and then it was like, well, maybe it happened, but it wasn't a big deal, and then at the end it was, well, yes, it happened, and they deserved it. We literally went through like all the steps, and at the end they were saying, yeah, it happened, and he deserved it. He should have been killed. Like that at the very end, that's where we got to.
I got you, but I'm saying that like a lot of times these conversations, disagreements start because what you call this is not what I call this. And then we argue for 45 minutes and come to some mutual definition, at least for the purpose of this conversation. Even if I don't like your definition, I understand the argument you're making. Yeah. And I say, by that, if you mean this, then sure.
No, I understand. Like, I understand that happens, but that wasn't the circumstance.
That wasn't okay.
No, this circumstance was, I was like citing, you know, Article 108 of the Constitution, what the responsibilities of the RADA are under Article 111, the specific dates as to what was happening. February 2nd.
Saying specific dates and times.
Yeah. Well, this is important because the timeline matters.
He came ready, bro. He came with a bag of facts. It was just dates. Eastern European.
I made a whole obsidian about it. Okay,
He practiced those names for a week before that panel.
No, I didn't. No, I've got an obsidian. I have got all my sources in there. I said this during the debate. Anybody who thinks that I'm incorrect or lying about anything, reach out to me. I'll send you the source of what I'm talking about. I have sources for all the claims that I made, and I'll have sources for any claims I make about today. This is a topic that is very fact intensive.
Oh, sorry,
you don't think it's cool that
you do that? Hold on, we got to let someone. Let's go ahead and Gibbs.
Yeah, so I mean, just in conjunction, because I know like Ukraine is like kind of one of Wick's big things right now, and it's happened. It happened on the panel like the day before. It happened on this panel, on that panel, and then now what I've really found interesting, in addition to all this, right, is the purity testing in regards to like why you support Ukraine, right? Like I advocated pro-Ukraine positions for a while, right? Like I've been like, one, I don't like Russia. Never really been a huge fan. Two, you know, I got military industrial complex stocks. Let's make some money, baby. America's chief exports war, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And then I'll say this, and I'm like, hey, I'm doing what you want. I'm saying, let's send them all the money. Let's send them all this stuff. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, I don't want to be in the same, you know, side as a money profiteer.
Yeah, but Gibbs, you're mask off.
Hold on, yeah, I'm mask off, which is interesting to me because then I turn around and like the way I look at it is Ukraine is a bunch of gangsters. Right, they're a bunch of gangsters, corrupt motherfuckers. Like all I've ever known about Ukraine my entire life growing up was pro gangster. Well, I don't like. I'm pro gangster over you know, Russian dictator. You know, I guess. But like, if they're gangsters and they have hot women, that's all you need to know about Ukraine. That's all anybody's ever known about Ukraine. That's all there is to know about Ukraine. And then so we're sitting here. We move over to Russia. They're pieces of shit. So then it's like, okay, we're looking at a battle between two pieces of shit. Right. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to support this guy because I can at least make money. And you tell them this, they're like, no, you're evil. And it's like, they're fighting for their people. I'm like, well, you know, their people don't seem to really want to be fighting because they're picking them up in the middle of the streets. Like, and then you say this to them and they're like, well, that's propaganda. And it's just like, all right, what world are we living in? Are we living in the world like the facts? Or are we living in the world of the feelings? And there's this like purity test that like has to go with it. And it's like, we don't want you on our side, even if you're saying the same thing as we are. Because I don't see any difference between this and the Hunter Biden stuff. Like, it's just one side is paying like another, like Ukraine's paying the Dems to get them in power, you know, or whatever. And that's what the Republicans edge. Now the Elon's alleging that the Ukraine's hacking his cyber team. So it's just like, you're picking your favorite mascot here. I don't know, is what it's become as opposed to what it
I think that what we're going to see is like probably 30 years from now, we're going to, you know, when we look back at this and like the kind of common conversation about this, it's going to be very similar to, I think, what we talk about now in Vietnam as compared to what people talked about Vietnam then, right? Whenever there's like an ongoing American interest conflict, the sort of, you know, get on board, otherwise you're a bitch kind of comes on. But then afterwards, after a few decades, we look back and we're like, it was a little bit more gray than we kind of gave it credit for. There was some fucked up shit. Come on.
Oh wait, what's the analogy to the USA in this conflict in Vietnam?
Well, the USA is never wrong. First of all.
Well, again, we have Gibbs.
Yeah, exactly. Gibbs needs to assert that.
So there's all. I mean,
what's the analogy with Vietnam, USA, and Russia, Ukraine?
Sure. I mean, the analogy is that it's a conflict in which, at the time, right, it was a conflict in which the South Vietnamese were freedom fighters fighting for pure liberation. The Gulf of Tonkin happened. It turns out there was a bunch of falsehoods relating to the Gulf of Tonkin incident. The Americans had been involved prior to the Vietnamese War. They had been involved because the French had left back. The French were involved in the 50s. There's all sorts of shit that was left out. And then when you look at Ukraine, currently there's indications, but there's no definitive proof that the CIA was involved. But all we do know that there's a lot of NGOs that are funded by various organizations, including USAID, that exist in Ukraine, and a lot of stuff, and a lot of quote unquote independent media gets a lot of its funding from the U.S. government. And there is definitely a interest that the U.S. government has in fomenting dissent in countries.
Convenient. Yeah, it's very convenient that the government that was elected, so not elected, excuse me. So there was a government that was more aligned with Russia, and then it gets tossed for a person who is Western aligned, right? That is a story that happens often, and oftentimes when it comes out the end, that there is support from America or the West in general for those situations. And that support can come in all kinds of ways, right? It can come direct monetary support. It can come with logistics, or maybe, right? Or maybe it's even let's say they had physically nothing to do with it, right? But afterwards, do we accept this leader, right? Because coups happen when we're not involved, and then the United States specifically rejects those people. But it seems like we're all too happy to take Zelensky, and the guy who happens to agree with us, I guess he is legitimate now.
Yeah, and we know those conversations were happening because of the Newland phone call.
Sorry, you're skipping a step, right? Because when Newland wasn't talking about Zelensky, right? What Newland wanted was somebody who was going to be an interim leader that she preferred, right? And then that interim leader just held the position long enough to have its first election, and in that first election, Poroshenko won. So now if we want to say, Poroshenko was the CIA choice then. He's the CIA guy. Okay, fine. But guess what? 4 years later, he became very unpopular, and he lost to Zelensky, who was running against the person that I guess people want to say was the CIA pick, right? So the CIA pick lost to Zelensky, and Zelensky ended up being that candidate that was willing to criticize both sides, was able to criticize Poroshenko and criticize the Russian side. And now we want to say, no, he was the CIA pick, not Poroshenko. And it just goes on. Poroshenko actually was quite corrupt. And one of the reasons why Zelensky defeated him was because he pointed all that stuff out. Now, if the CIA wanted to, I guess you could say the CIA was playing five-dimensional chess or whatever, and set up Poroshenko to be corrupt so that their real corrupt person could then defeat him by showing how corrupt they were, I guess. But that gets very complicated.
No, fair enough. That's fair.
All of that. Yeah.
And also, real quick, I agree. I don't know to the extent the CIA was involved. I mean, we have plenty of examples of certain leaders that the CIA tolerates, and then if they get out of line or if something happens, they fall out of favor, right? Batista is one example of this, right? Saddam Hussein, but also Batista in Cuba. Initially the U.S. was pulled all support for Batista because he had sort of outlived his favor for the U.S. That's how Castro was able to take power.
I understand depending on the particular conflict you're looking at, I understand why history can give us better perspective of the events we have today. But I think in this conflict in particular, is there some historical context that justifies Russia invading a sovereign country?
Yeah, Russia wanted to.
There's definitely plenty of historical context that explains it, but justifying it gets a little more complicated.
No. Hold on. Why are we pretending that Russia is ever justified? Like this is the same thing. Like, do you think okay? This is kind of the problem I had with your take, right? And this is really all it
Russia's
takes
never
to
justified in
justify
anything they do, right?
Yeah, well, no, it's the same thing. When we go look at let's look at. I hate to be the guy that brings up the Nazis, but let's just use when they invaded the Rhineland. They're like, we're gonna go and protect ethnic Germans, and then they go and invade. Wow, okay, so then Russia, same thing. We're gonna go protect ethnic Russians. That'd be like me going tomorrow, be like, hey, the Apaches actually own this part of Mexico outside of El Paso, and it's lawless. The cartels control it, so we're gonna invade Matamoros and take it over because the Apaches signed a treaty with Texas back in the day during the Texas Revolution, and that's ancestral Texan land. So we're gonna save ethnic Texans. Like, I mean, whenever we're just coming up with reasons, it's not real reasons. It's Russia wanted it, and they just put something out there that they can send out to the media circles.
I'm not sure that's not like a real reason necessarily. And so this is like not my thing. Like this conflict, I don't know as much about it. So just be clear about that. But what I'm hearing is that on those states, right, like the Donbass and that other region, right, that were initially entered, that those places are like filled with like people who are ethnically Russian, people who identify as Russian, speak Russian, and like consider themselves as such, really, right? And that those people, there's like a hard split within Ukraine between both sides. That that initial election before the coup, right? The person who won was favored by the East.
East overwhelmingly, yep.
The East overwhelmingly. And like it's a deep cultural split, and that and the thing I'm not sure about, and maybe someone can enlighten me, is that in those eastern states that those people were facing some sort of suffering some sort of level of oppression from the Ukraine. That's what I've heard, but again, I don't know much about that. And if that's the case, well, then that's all the pretext you need. Then exactly that these people who like a line was drawn within it, like to mark off Ukraine, right? Not like this was like the borders have changed here, right? So a line was drawn at some point, and we had Ukrainians on one side that feel that they're Russian, but they don't not really respect that border in that same way. And so like if Russia comes in and saves them, right, and assists them, then yeah, it's helping ethnic Russians in all the ways that we consider, right?
It's interesting that those new lines
we're drawing now
are somehow line up with like 80% of the natural gases and minerals.
Yeah, I mean that'd be like if Mexicans in California tomorrow were like, well, we've developed a deep cultural divide with the U.S., and so now everybody that's not part of the Texas Revolution that was part of the Mexico during the Mexican-American War, or all our people that live here now, we're going to try to go back to Mexico. Like that's
well, hold on, wait. Let's take using your example for a second. Let's say you have a scenario where there's a couple, like let's say there's a lot of Mexicans in California, which there's a lot of people who are ethnically Mexican.
Hypothetically.
And Spanish is like let's say over time, like Spanish is like very openly spoken. In some places, let's say even like exclusively spoken.
Hypothetically.
And then let's say that there's an election. And in the election, there's like a candidate who's like very pro-Mexican, and then on the other end, there's a candidate that's like pretty anti-Mexican. And then the pro-Mexican candidate wins, and then there's a coup, and the pro-Mexican candidate gets thrown out of office illegally and has to flee the country, and the anti-Mexican candidate takes over. You wouldn't expect any separatism from the Mexicans living in California?
Would you accept that? I mean, if they were trying to break away to go to Mexico?
If those citizens did it, that's one thing. But if Mexico chooses it as a time to invade the United States, I don't.
Yeah. What if? I see that. I don't like this argument because with this,
I know you don't.
Yeah, because this would seem to like basically indicate like, oh yeah, you have the right to leave, but you don't if you don't have the means. For our revolution, the Spanish and the French helped us a lot. That doesn't mean that we were unjustified in our revolution, right? I mean, we have no taxation without representation. And how can you claim that these people are represented when the presidential candidate that they elected got couped? The Constitution specifies how long they're supposed to be president for.
The American Revolution is different from like Russia, Ukraine, the United States, and whatever countries, like all bought into the Budapest Memorandum. Russia's agreed, not since then, multiple times that no, this is your sovereign territory, that we won't invade you, and the United States has agreed if something does happen, we'll protect you. So give up your nukes. Give up your nuclear
we
weapons.
never said protect. That didn't
Yeah,
happen.
there was
Well,
no.
yeah.
According to both the U.S. and Russia, there was
no
Budapest memorandum.
agreement.
Yeah, it was just a memorandum. That's all it was. It wasn't any kind of binding treaty. It was basically a statement of affirmation, a statement of friendship.
Speaking of
But,
the
but
EU,
I-
wait,
what I'm
wait,
saying
what
is,
if-
I think there's an
how about-
expectation.
How about NATO right now? Because I have questions about this.
We're talking about
what
the
about
Budapest
the
memorandum.
18 billion that they suddenly found?
Where?
Loan
Who did?
Ukraine. The EU.
What do you mean?
Oh, to
18
fund
billion?
Ukraine.
I mean,
To
Yeah,
fund
fund
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
It's not that
18
they
billion,
wait.
they just
The
It was
EU's
on-
been
hold on,
funding
hold on.
the whole time.
But the EU had always been funding. The EU has been funding
It outfunded the
Ukraine
United States.
more than the US, right? Like slightly more than the US in terms of. I was like, it's not.
Yeah, Trump just made that up. That's not actually like the EU's been
Yeah.
funding Ukraine
Yeah, they have been the entire time.
this entire time.
Hella bags.
I mean, not as much as we have been.
No, they have.
but
I think
more.
more.
It's been pretty close.
More.
It's been pretty close.
I think
Well,
more,
that's what
it's
Prime
been-
just said, is that the EU
It's
has
slightly
spent
more.
more money with Ukraine than we have.
Yeah, they have.
It was slightly more.
I'm about to say,
that-
no matter in raw dollars and in percentage of GDP, they've sent more than us in both categories.
I don't think that's right. I know it's super close. It could be like slightly more, but my understanding was the U.S. gave slightly more when you factor in all financial aid and military spending.
Well, there might be some sort of calculation where maybe it's slightly more. The calculations I saw that was slightly less, but the point is that like it's not as if EU was lagging behind. I'll look into it, but like it's not.
No,
as if-
the big difference is between grants and loans. So the vast majority of the money the EU gave is in the form of loans that are expected to be paid back. The vast amount of money,
I don't even think
that we pay. No, this is 100% true. I can send you links on this. The vast majority of money.
Those loans are expected to be forgiven. It's just that's future.
They
legislation.
might be forgiven, right? But for
I
us,
think even
it was
the
grants.
president of France literally came out and said a lot of their money that they gave weren't loans. Like they said, that was a miss.
I mean, maybe France specifically, but when you look at like a breakdown, like the EU primarily gave loans, we primarily gave grants.
I don't know. Like I said, the United, it's so weird the way we frame these things of like because we write them down in money. We use these opportunities to clear out our old military equipment, and then we give that money to Raytheon and Boeing and all of our military manufacturers to create new equipment. That's like all we're doing. Like
This is also a point. When you actually look at the breakdowns of like the material being sent, most of that shit, like including especially the ammunition, which we sent a lot of, that stuff doesn't have like a operational expiration date in the same way. Like there's a that perhaps some, like
expired.
Well, hold on.
there's
here's the
some-
thing,
there's
you're
some-
not- you're also not factoring in this though, right? So yeah, some of it we're sending like old stuff that's going to be out, like our old Javelin missiles. They have like what, like a 2 or a 3 year life.
yeah, but they can't say what the split is, right?
But that's fine. That's fine. The thing is that you're not realizing is one, and the only reason I know this is because one, they're producing new ones for us because we're sending them our old stock, and we have to build the new replenishments, which is great for the American taxpayers.
No, it's not good for
But
the
no,
American taxpayer.
it's not good. It's good for the old military-industrial complex.
It's good for the military-industrial complex. Yeah, that's true.
yeah, which is great for me. So listen, keep on going, guys. And
Which he
secondly,
is a taxpayer, lactoid Jesus,
Yeah,
wrong again.
So
And secondly, the other thing you're not factoring in with that is that, like, although we're selling them like a lot of the old tech, right? We're also selling them upgrade kits for a lot of this shit. Like, what was it, the M60 tank or whatever? They've got the modern M60 tank that like upgrade thing for each
The
one of these
M1A1.
old ones we slap on.
Doing Call of
No, not
Duty
the
in that
M1A1,
bitch.
the one before that. But yeah, so we'll slap on those on there, and then we can ship them out. And like we've been doing the African countries for a while, and that's good for the military.
So
industrial
I'm
complex.
on factcheck.org, so take that as you will, right?
Sounds
Says-
biased.
Biased liberal side.
It says, look, again, that's why I told you what it was, so you guys can make your own idea. But it says, contrary to Trump's claims, Europe has provided more in aid than the U.S., according to the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, a German research organization that tracks funding for Ukraine. The U.S. has so far allocated about 121 billion compared with about 140 billion from Europe. Now, It goes on to say, in referencing previous stuff that I didn't read, it says the Kiel Institute's figures are lower than what the U.S. Congress has appropriated because the Institute only includes direct bilateral aid. It also shows figures for what additional amounts have been committed but not yet allocated. There's not much more than the U.S. has committed, but Europe has committed another 122 billion. So there's lots of figures going around here. So there's the aid that's actually been distributed, right? Then there's the aid that's been allocated, right? So more has been allocated, not all of it has been distributed on both sides, right?
Look at the group chat real quick.
Sure, I'll take a look.
I posted a
The
graph.
last
This is
number
from the
I
Kiel
found from
Institute, which I
one
think is interesting.
agency, and it was up until last year was 196 billion contributed by the U.S.
I don't think I'm in the right group
today.
chat.
I'm at like 185 is the highest number I've seen.
It's closer to 185. Trump keeps saying three.
Somebody in the chat.
Either two things are one
I
of
think he's
them.
combining the EU's numbers with.
He might be doing that. Unless there's a whole bunch of fucking
It
somehow
wasn't
there's money
Trump's
that
number.
wasn't recorded that was sent over, which
Or he's a liar.
or
Oh,
he's
man.
lying.
Because
What do y'all think about
he
Ukraine
was
allegedly
like,
attacking Musk
Ukraine
today?
350 billion in aid, and he just acclimated all of that to the United States. That's what I've like. That's the only way I've been able to justify it. I'm like, I don't think he completely made it up. I think he heard it, but I think he heard it as total aid to Ukraine, and he assumed that none of it was the EU's.
Well,
That's
what do y'all think
likely
about
what it is.
Ukraine's alleged attack on Musk properties today with a cyber attack.
We don't know. Hold on. We don't know anything about that yet.
Alleged. I said alleged.
It's alleged. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if these are update statistics. So yours ends, the graph you sent ends in December 2024. I don't know if, because this report came out on March 4th, 2025. So there's been additional funding.
Maybe the Europeans stepped it up. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
again, I don't know. Yeah. Just.
But it is like ultra close. Just to be like,
Yeah.
it is super close.
Yeah, it's not.
Although-
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not. Yeah, this.
But the point is that Trump was saying that like it's like double, possibly triple the amount that Europe is sending. That's completely false. Not even close to true.
Yeah. I mean, that's of course not. Yeah, I would agree. That's not true.
I think a zillion times.
But when you do look at when you look at the picture, I mean, we're giving a lot more again in the form of grants as opposed to loans. And the EU is a conglomeration of many different countries that has twice our population, a little bit more than twice our population.
Wait, twice
the
the
United
United
States.
States?
Our population?
Really?
I don't think that's
Oh,
true.
the entire EU, yeah, it's like over 700 million.
Oh,
I
don't know. Actually, I'll look it up. I
I
don't
Yeah,
know.
I have no idea. It doesn't sound right.
500.
Maybe I'm talking about Europe as opposed to just the EU.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I think Europe
wondering.
is like 450,
European
430.
Oh, you're right. 450. Okay, that's still
okay.
that's still 100.
100 million more. Yeah.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, okay. I guess I was counting all of Europe. All of Europe is like.
Yeah, but you're counting
For
like
sure.
you're counting like a union compared to like us as just like an individual country.
That's what he's saying.
Right? It's I know. Like it's
Oh wait, it's United
hold on.
States of America, I believe.
Yeah, but the United States
That's
is- the
true.
EU
We got to break it down by state. True. Good point.
Well, if you
I mean, that's
also
what the
include
EU
Canada,
is.
I mean,
Whoa,
the
whoa,
numbers
whoa,
aren't
whoa,
even.
Soon to be.
going to be 51. 51.
Corey and Lacto, how did y'all
51.
get in here without paying the tariff? That's crazy.
Hey, well, I mean, I don't know where. I think Ali is in one of the states that's their electricity bill might go up due to what's happening, but I don't know. We'll see.
The Trump
Whose electricity bill is gonna go up?
Well, I know
Even
that
like
Ontario is since Canada exports a lot of energy to United States. I think it's Michigan, Minnesota, another state because Ontario provides energy to some of those states, and yes, there's a 25%.
Oh, I'm out of Michigan now. I'm getting fucked by the taxes in Massachusetts, so it's a different it's a different system over. But I'm still getting fucked either way. Damn. Wait, the tariffs affect the energy?
Well, no, this is like a specific unique thing in terms of just like if this is like sort of an extreme option of like Canada sends like 5 billion barrels of oil a day to United States. If we just shut that off, that has obviously that's going to hurt us Canada, but it also hurt United States pretty severely.
Corey, well, if what you don't know is that Minnesota voted Democrat in the election, so fuck those people. They can get no electricity. Unlike the
they're not
great
Americans
nation state-
now.
Yeah, they're
They
not
voted
American.
Democrat.
Unlike the wonderful great nation state of Texas, who
What about
has
Mich-
recovered
We
from our
are
freeze.
fucking doomed.
make your own electricity grid. That it worked out great for y'all. In the last
It works
3
out really good. Actually, we've added more batteries, and we haven't had a single problem since that one time. Listen, we learned from our mistakes.
God.
Since
Unlike
that
the
one
rest
time
of
when there's a
the
half
country.
inch of snow in your
Hey,
country.
listen,
your
I don't know if you know this, but in
They went
Texas
nuts.
we coal the week. That was just us coal the week.
Jesus Christ. So I mean, random question. I guess it's not random. Is everyone who voted for Trump, or are all of you still like happy with your vote at this point?
Brother, ecstatic. What do you
Ecstatically
mean?
happy, actually.
Yeah, there's nothing
yeah,
that will.
Bro, hey, listen, this is the biggest
It's
lie.
been
They
getting
have
better
to,
and better, bro.
hey, Bam, they all gotta put this mask on and lie like they're okay with what's happening, right? Because they voted for him, they gotta die on the hill, right?
Yeah.
But I've asked this question
But
in 2 years, 3 years,
honest,
if it's a total
it
failure,
depends on-
what do you have
it-
to say? Oh, no.
Like I think
Nothing.
if someone said that, like, I don't care what happens to the economy as long as like the immigration thing's locked down, then I'm like, okay, that's your argument. If you used to think that Trump's doing great on the economy right now,
fantastic.
that's where the cope will come out.
Look,
Yeah.
if I regretted my vote,
I
I would
love
say
it.
it.
We are
Jake,
trash
honestly.
nationals,
I don't regret it. I don't regret my vote. I mean, obviously, I knew there was going to be things that were going to come up that I'd be critical of. One of the things here being this Mahmoud thing, where apparently we're deporting people, green card holders for being anti
Against
or
Israel,
against
baby.
Israel. Yeah,
Well, that's some of the
USI.
comment that he just said.
USI.
Bam just made a comment though about the
Fucking
economy and the
pathetic.
shit. Let me break something down for you. You know that right now we're a 4-month dip, right? Oh, the pain. Oh, so bad. This 4-month dip is the highest as Joe Biden was ever. So basically, the best of Joe Biden's policies, 3.5 in, are Trump's worst. Like, so all I gotta say is we're winning. Even our bad times, our hiccups are better than the best of the Biden.
The Dow was down further than a year.
Also, we need to. I don't know if you know this, but we have found that most of Biden's executive orders and
Lactoid
pardons
or
were signed
ICAO,
by
you're muted.
autopin. Very suspicious. Looks like Biden didn't even know what he was signing now.
So what did I hear? What
there
did
we
I
go.
hear? What did I hear for 4 years? That to deny that the economy is having problems is to deny the pain of the people who are going to the grocery store every day.
Nobody's
and,
denying that
paying
there's
so much
problems.
more for eggs than they used to, and all this other stuff. Like I think
If you're a farmer
now.
or rancher, this is great. though.
I think at this point, I think at
Yeah,
this
bro,
point,
be
if you're
honest.
Gibbs, everything's great.
No, let I go. Sorry, I go. Go
It's
ahead.
a real
Yeah,
good.
I'm just saying
When you
the
asked if I
strategy
like
is
my
to-
vote, I'm a huge fan.
the strategy right now is to just point at whatever's happening and call it good. Like that's the strategy. And admittedly, like I know Democrats did that, especially it was a lot of cope 2 years ago when inflation was like getting close to 10%. So I get it.
Disagree with that, man.
But that's what's happening now.
I knew it was going to get worse, and it is bad. It may get even worse.
Probably will.
It
It
will.
will get better.
I mean,
under Trump than it was ever under Biden.
What's better for you?
Like, it would be one thing if we had
plan. I just want to
Well, I would
clarify.
Surely
like to
there are
see
some
the
people. Look, if you
unemployment
pulled out of
number-
the stock
Hold on,
market
I'll
and you
answer
invested
that.
in
I'll answer
T-bills, then you're golden right now. Right? Like
I'll
there are
answer
people
that,
who are winning in
Corey.
this market.
I would like to see unemployment levels as low as they were during Trump. I'd like to see interest rates as
I
low
believe
as they
it's
were
like at
during Trump.
it's not
I would like to
4%
see.
now. You
I
want
would like to see
4.1, it just went up.
everything back better than it was when Trump was in his first term.
So
Okay.
when
that doesn't happen,
We're not doing anything that leads us in that direction.
I can only listen to
When it
one
doesn't
of
happen,
them.
they'll say it
Can I
doesn't matter.
clarify?
Yeah, look,
they'll be like, oh, sorry, we were wrong.
You expect an
No, they will not
unemployment
say that.
lower than 4%, as in like you'd only be satisfied if it's lower than it currently is, like 4%.
Yeah, I'd like
4.1
to
now.
see
Just
interest
went up.
rates
It
back
just
down
went up
around
last week.
2.25, 2.75.
Wait, what went up last week?
Unemployment.
Unemployment went to
You expect
4.1.
2% or 2.5% unemployment. And
No, he
you-
said interest rates.
I said interest rates. I can
Okay.
only hear one of you talking at a time.
Okay, well, yeah.
So you,
So I heard unemployment rates. So
Okay.
were you
I
referring to
said I would like to see interest rates where they were when Trump left office the first time. I would like to see unemployment rates as low as they were when Trump left office. 6 months before he left office before COVID. I would like to see that. Would you not? Do you not want to see?
I don't know what it. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was in around 2018.
Depends on what that does to inflation.
Can I?
I'm just
You can't just
curious.
say you wanna
I'm not
take
an
over the
I'm not an
president and
economist,
you
but grid one. Do you want is your optimal scenario like 0% unemployment, or like what's optimal for you?
Well, that's impossible, Corey. Come on.
Well, no, I'm
Come on.
asking you hypothetically. Can you give me a number, a ballpark of like?
I think that we were
1-2%?
at about. I think that we were about 4.5% or something like that. It was as low as it had ever been in some time under Trump. Is that correct?
We're
Am I
still at
wrong?
I'm trying to look it up right now, but I'm curious. Like, what would you say? Like, if unemployment was lower during Biden, would you consider that a success?
Well, hold on. This is the trick that he's about to get you with, Grid. Is
Yeah,
that
it's a trick by
everybody had
using
3
numbers.
jobs during Biden's economy?
Oh,
so
yeah.
unemployment was like -5%, you know, or some bullshit. That's what's about to
no,
happen.
it's not.
Oh, but
It's not. It's that you don't want the Fed actually targets unemployment to be somewhere between 3 to 5%, just because that means that you have people in between jobs.
Yeah,
like
at the healthy
your
level, right?
economy's moving.
There's also, just to be clear, like
at that point right now.
Okay,
I
great.
posted some of the stats here. I mean, we have what in December of 2024, so before Trump takes office, we have an unemployment rate of 4.1%, and then it goes,
That's Satan's
and
website.
then we're still at 4.1% in February of 2024.
Sounds
You're
wrong.
using You're using the devil's website.
2025.
February of 2025, it's 4.1%. So we really haven't moved at all in terms of the unemployment rate, and then in terms of inflation, it did go up from like 2.9 to 3, and it's expected in February. The expectation is that, I guess the estimation based on this website is that it's going to be 2.9 again. So this isn't like shit's going crazy. This is like shit's kind of staying the same.
Well, what's also like,
well, staying the same, but things were
problem with
terrible
the-
before. So if they're staying the same, then they're
No,
still
well,
terrible.
hold
Is what you're saying.
Well, so I want to point out the other thing that like you're kind of glazing over, right? Like, is that like at least on the Republican side, I know that we didn't trust numbers from the government, right? And the government would say we have this great number, and everybody's working one job or something. We're all doing that, and then Monster.com would come out and say, "Hey, the average American is working 2 different jobs," and they would be like, "No, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Trust the government." What does Monster.com know? And Monster.com is like one of the premier, job hunting websites. And then like another one would come out and say the same thing. They'd be like, "Well, 40% of Americans, the 50%," and like they'd be like, "Well, no, but these numbers are saying they're fine. Look at how good the predictions are doing." Then 6 months later, we'd see the predictions come out and they'd be revised and they'd be total dog shit. And we'd be like, "Oh, well, we told you so. The Monster numbers and the other job hunting site were right." And y'all will be like, "No, it means something else."
I don't know if that has anything to do with the federal government.
Who's
We're just not, our
would it be
our
accurate?
economy is just in a place where we're not giving out full-time jobs. Full-time jobs, like 40-hour work weeks, are just hard to find. Jobs are typically, a lot of jobs are hiring on for like part-time work.
There's
people are
ghost
picking up
there's
Uber
ghost
or-
applications everywhere.
Gibbs, would you say then that the metric we should be looking at is real wages versus inflation?
I mean, the Biden administration, real wages did outpace inflation.
I don't know. I would say that there's probably multiple metrics I would want to look at, like what's how much people have in savings, like what those savings are. I don't necessarily see like the job metric as one that I think is really a good one that people use. Like I brought up homelessness as a metric. If you're homeless, even if you're only temporarily homeless because you're searching for a job, that's one thing. But if you're like homeless and you still have a job, that's an indication that I think that the economy is not as good as people think it is, because either your standard of living's too high. I think there's like a litany of metrics that I think that, I don't know, the Dems seem to want to ignore, like as opposed to like Republicans are like, well, yeah, these 3 metrics are good, but these 9 are bad. And like, I don't know, that was the problem I think that we had with the disconnect between reality and I think that to like the voters.
I got a couple of things. First of all, the whole thing about the gig economy and people picking up part-time jobs because that's all they can afford. Well, that's all people are hiring for because the insurance is so high now. The taxation is high for full-time employees. Workman's comp is higher for full-time employees. So a lot of companies will not hire full-time, period. We know that. It's a problem due to our overregulation. And if we want people to have a job where they work 40 hours a week, we got to get rid of that regulation. We got to get some sense of reality back into the job market. And I don't know how to do that. I'm not the guy for that. But as far as what you're talking about,
we just don't have worker unions. I was about to say, the only reason we don't
Does that reality come with like
we
paying
don't
the
wanna
workers more at all, or no?
Yeah, they come.
well, the workers unions aren't helping that. They're the ones that are helping the regulations take effect.
Unionized jobs
Gibbs,
do
what
provide
I'm
full-time work. I'm sorry.
Gibbs, what do you think? How could we stop, possibly or slow down, stop, or possibly reverse the massive wealth transfer that's happened because of real estate being bought up by investment funds, just investors in general leveraging massive amounts of debt and credit to buy multiple houses, and then pricing the average consumer out of the market. What do you think? That's and what do our Democrat friends think about how to reverse that? Because if the issue is, I know that you do, but if the issue is that, well, you can't earn enough of a wage to buy a house, you can't earn enough of a wage to do X or Y or Z, how do you solve that?
Pay people
How
more.
are you guys going to solve it?
You got to wait for these people to die. That's what you got to wait for. This is going to be the biggest transition.
So pay people more.
It sucks, but yeah, this is the biggest going to be when our parents die. It's going to be the biggest transfer of generational wealth in history. And the thing is, life expectancies are higher, kind of thing. So yeah, it's slowing it down. But that's what's going to happen. Is you're going to have people that weren't land wealth. We're going to be able to stuff. But hey, guess what? The Dems want to tax on that.
Just wait for the trickle down.
I mean, it works.
No, first, you can go Ali first, and I'll go after you.
Yeah, so I mean, Grid, you were complaining about the regulations and the unions and so on and so forth, and we have all these regulations.
I didn't complain about it. I made an observation.
You didn't. Okay, so
made an observation. I didn't complain.
You're saying that you can't. No one's hiring because of the regulations, and then obviously you're not going to do that. Well, the thing is, if you remove the regulations from these businesses, it's not like they're going to pay the people anymore. They're probably going to potentially try to pay them less.
Have you ever hired anyone?
Have I ever hired anyone?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
I own businesses, and I can tell you that one of the reasons why I hire people part-time is because based on the average employee cost is thousands of dollars a year less. And I want, and we 1099. I had a whole company that literally every single person that worked for that company was a subcontractor getting 1099.
I bet part of that is you don't want to provide benefits to your
there's no benefit. Yeah, I mean, there's no. I mean, look,
provide
this
anything.
Is the
They're coming. They're working a contract and they're living. It's not an employee.
Punitive, crappy,
it's not an employee.
Horrible measures on companies to make it harder and harder for them to make money.
They're not your employee.
There are ways around
a contract. That's not your employee.
I have a different answer.
That's not necessarily true. Businesses do a workaround for that. Like I said, I'm saying that there's you can make it, you can say whatever you want, but the reality is businesses don't want people to work 40 hours. They'll force you to get off the clock.
I do.
Because with 40 hours, with full-time wages.
Hold on now. I do.
I don't do that. I even hire.
We can't because of the regulations.
I'm saying they want to have to provide benefits for their.
Well, there's another way around this that's better, I think, than what he proposed. He might disagree with me. I don't know how his business is structured. For all my businesses, for my sales company, one, I start off with salary, they get benefits, and then they also get a commission structure. For even my seamstresses for my leather company, where they have no discernible skills, they're all just literal Guatemalan immigrants that I brought up, and we've gotten them green cards and shit.
A weird way of saying that, man, but okay.
Hey, brought them over. No, they are. Well, because I hire people I can trust, and the guy that runs it, he's a Guatemalan guy. He's brought his whole family up. Guess what? We got them all green cards and shit. And guess what? We all pay them like $40K a year plus benefits. And guess what? They work more than 40 hours a week because they're on fucking salary. And that's the way you get around that, because they're going in there, they're getting benefits, and they're willing to work their fingers to the bone because they're getting a salary, and they're pay, and you can get around the 40 hours a week kind of thing with salary. That's my preference.
What's the salary?
He said 40,000.
I mean, they're getting like 40K plus, 40,000 plus benefits to start.
So I'll
standard living is like 30.
Oh, that's what you pay the Guatemalan immigrants?
Yeah.
Couldn't you get away with? I'm not telling you how to run your business. Couldn't you get away with paying them a lot less than that?
Yeah. But I don't want them to leave because they're good.
The market.
This seems to go. Whoa! This seems to go against everything you believe.
Wants to pay people less.
No, this is what Gibbs would do. Gibbs would say,
"Why wouldn't you just pay them less?"
No. Gibbs would say, "What's good for my pocketbook is good for me."
No, because hiring new people is way more expensive than keeping old people.
Yeah, keep your workers.
So I'd rather keep a worker, and as long as they're getting their quota done or whatever I have set for them, I don't know what roles.
It's cheaper to keep them, man.
To it. He's responding to market forces and setting a price, right? And then the sellers of the work, and they come and they accept that price. That's just how the market
margins
works.
For that company are like 3,000%. So it's wildly profitable. So
can I just add, just in case any of Lactoid's clients are listening, have you considered paying him less? Have you?
Yeah.
That's
No, look,
that's
it sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot. Okay,
Lactoid
I'm just
would be-
saying.
Lactoid's like, why
actually
not
have
slave wages?
I
Have
actually
you
have
given it a
in
try?
mind-
Works for me,
He's saying
not
it
for
works in the
lactoid.
past. He's saying it worked in the past. I don't know. Why not slave wages?
I'm not. I think it's a good thing if you pay your workers good. That's great. I'm just surprised. Okay, that Gibbs of all people
Yeah.
would offer a competitive wage as opposed to
Hold
Yeah.
on.
like I'm going to pay you $10 and a piece of gum per day, and if you
like
leave, I'm going to drone
happy
bomb you.
urinal too.
I am loyal to my people, though. If you make me profit, the profit is coming. You're gonna get some of
Gives
this
us
profit.
tribalist.
You know, you get a little bit of a taste. You know, everybody get a little taste.
I want
that's right.
to respond to our friend Grid. So Grid, before you were talking about housing, right? And
Yes.
people being unable to afford housing. Well, there's a lot of things that's happening within that housing market, right? Like there's a whole like mess of variables that are
Yeah, I
causing
could do a
housing
speech
prices
on it.
to spike, right? So there is large corporations, right, private equity firms, but also ones in non-private equity structures, that are buying up large tracts of housing, right? Like neighborhoods are being bought up,
Yeah,
and then they're
I'm
being.
one of them.
Of course you are. Of course you are, Grid. Of course you are.
House prices are down, by the way,
uh,
since 2022.
People still can't
there's
afford
been
them.
fluctuations.
Go Biden.
Go Biden. Thank you, Biden, for that. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, they're
They also
buying
shut
up.
up during Biden.
They're also falling. Sorry, let me get it again. They're buying up a large tracts of housing, and then they're renting those houses, right? Homes that would be starter homes, they are becoming rental properties, right? Yeah, we should disallow that, right? And if you're a part of that, you shouldn't be allowed to do that either.
Well, I mean,
so.
in a free market
And
economy.
it depends. And again, it depends. Like how large you are. I don't know how big of a landlord you are, right? Like
We're buying 20 houses this year.
20 houses. Oh, that's nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. I wouldn't even include you. No.
Okay.
But
20 houses.
That's a lot of
that's-
houses.
That's a
20
house every
houses?
2 weeks.
sorry.
We were going to buy
Oh,
50 houses this year. There aren't enough in that
Oh,
area
I mean,
that we
sorry.
want to buy.
I made the thing I thought you meant 20 houses total. How many houses like within your portfolio in general? Can you give us a round number or a general number? of that?
I mean, all right. So it's tough to say because it's a part of. We run a fund, a real estate fund, but we buy and we're constantly buying and selling houses. So that the process is we buy a house, we keep it about 2 years, rent it out, and then after 2 years, assuming that it has appreciated and has enough equity value in it, we sell that property off. We're trying to double our investment, whatever that investment is. So if we put 60,000 down, and all of the mortgages paid by the renters, and we can sell it for $100,000 profit, then or over what we paid for it, then that's acceptable to us. We're good with that. Even 80,000 over is fine because we've doubled our $60,000 investment, right? So we keep them on the average of about 2 years, and we're just letting the market itself move. We're not influencing that artificially. We were buying about. We were buying a house a week. We've slowed down a little bit because it just isn't enough on the market, and we're actually starting to move the market in the direction we don't want it to. So we slowed down.
Okay, so it sounds to me that you're much smaller than the landlords that I'm talking about. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah, we're not progress, but that's a whole different deal. But yeah,
Is it over 100 houses? Is it over 100 houses?
Are you saying yes? Are you shaking your head, Grid? That's what
do
you
I have over 100 houses in the fund currently? Now, probably not. Probably 60, 80, somewhere along in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so it sounds like to me that you are much smaller than the ones that I'm talking about. There are ones.
They're the larger problem, though. I'm about to say you can focus on like these big ones, but there's probably 1,000 companies, or not 1,000, but there's probably like 100 companies the size of what Grid's talking about that's moving the majority of the market. Like if you say like, oh, BlackRock's doing the majority, they're really not.
Yeah, like BlackRock can do more.
Real estate's less than 7% of BlackRock's portfolio.
BlackRock's portfolio is actually massive. I know. Hold on, sorry. Let me finish my point.
Do you have somebody managing the fund? Like,
yeah, we do.
Do they manage other funds?
No, they manage just this fund, and
They're
about to
fund
start.
manager. I'll manage your fund, Gibbs. But
I don't got no fund.
I mean, I can recommend somebody.
Okay,
So
so the point is that there are many large, and I'm not just talking about BlackRock. There are many equity firms, and again, it doesn't have necessarily have to be within an equity structure, but there are many large buyers, and they operate right under different names. So they'll have like many different companies, and like that a person will be renting from, but you'll realize that all the companies in this area, right, are actually under the same parent umbrella. And furthermore, and hopefully our friend Grid is not part of this, there are new programs that are using they're calling it AI. Who knows if it's actually AI, whatever, right? But like these programs are basically price fixing the market. So like you agree, right? You buy into this program, right? You agree to allow this app to set your prices, your rents, and that sets the rents across the board, and it keeps adjusting the rents. I think even maybe even down to the room, right? They keep adjusting the rents to maximize profits across the board. Do you know what I'm talking about, Grid? There's been
there's no way for me to do that because we rent. So we're not doing short-term rentals. We're doing year 2-year leases. So and basically we don't need an AI to do it. I just literally look at the comps in the area. I price my properties $100 a month cheaper than everybody else, and I rent. I literally will have 30 or 40 people that want to rent my property before the
fair enough. Then again, it doesn't seem like you're the types that I'm talking about. So anyway, this program, and there's a name for it. I can look that up for you. But it got sued, right? There are a few of these, but the main one got sued by the government under the Biden administration. Hopefully the Trump administration continues on with that lawsuit, right? For this price fixing that's happening, that's artificially raising rates. So they're not doing what Grid is doing. Grid is doing it the way, if we're believing our friend here, Grid is doing the way that's traditionally done, right? You look at the statistics around your neighborhood, and then you set the prices accordingly as best you can, right? How much will people pay? But this, right, has basically you're effectively colluding with everyone within the area, and then setting prices. So there's multiple things that's happening. One, houses being bought up to be rental properties, houses that would be starter houses for a family. Those things are gone. Housing prices previously that were high. Apparently, the housing market is dipping now, but previously that were too high, and people were holding on to those properties. So people who are already property owners were holding on to that property and then not letting them go. And then, of course, there are foreigners who've been coming in, Russians, Chinese, and maybe others, rich ones, who've been going up and buying these houses, been using them as investment tools, right? Investment assets to park their money. Because they want to get it out of the country as fast as possible, and they've been putting it within the U.S. housing market.
There's a couple of things with the foreign investors.
So let me finish. So I'm going to wrap it all up, right? So you asked me like what should be done. One, we shouldn't be allowing these large corporations to be buying up all of this housing. Right? Absolutely not. Like again, I don't have a problem with smaller housing conglomerates like what you're doing, right? But there are much bigger ones that are taking up a lot of this land, and then also treating their tenants very poorly. That should all be broken up, tossed out. We should allow those housing units back in the market. Two, we should certainly not allow collusion within the marketplace. So again, I hope the Trump administration keeps up with that federal lawsuit against that company. Three, we shouldn't allow these foreign investors to be parking their money into the U.S. Housing market. America first, right? Housing for Americans who are actually living there, and to actually use that housing market. They're artificially raising the rates by using it as a housing asset, using our market as an asset. So let's get rid of that. And then on the other side, we have to increase building. That's a separate issue, right? We have had a large collapse of the number of builders, housing builders within the United States, right? There were a lot of builders, but a lot of them didn't survive the pandemic or various other market forces. And so now we have a lot fewer ones within the housing market, right? So a lot of few competitors, and just less building that's happening. We need to vastly increase building, right? Either help a new company start up, or maybe break up some old ones. I don't know. But we have to look at that as well to increase that.
Yeah, not just I'm about to say we need to be building, and anything we build will help. I just think that there's like I've just because dealing with my job, I deal with people who come in who do new constructions, and like just in the profit margins, there's almost no benefit. There's almost no profit in starter homes anymore. Like when
Right.
if someone's building new construction, like they start at a minimum 1900 square foot. You're just not getting they're just not building like 1400 square foot houses anymore, unless you have like one of those subdivisions that are built for like the tiny homes, the 12
Yeah.
1300 like.
So again, I really want to respond to what Kai said, but before I do that,
Take your time.
I'll respond to what Bam said. So we actually are starting to see, because we can build those smaller homes, 1,200, 1,100 square feet. We can build them so fast that it is becoming more economically viable as the price of construction materials drop. Not in every area, but what really screwed everyone. You guys think it's the housing market. It's not. It's actually what happened was there were a bunch of developers across the country. Nashville is one of the worst offenders, by the way. But what they did is they bought up neighborhoods, and instead of putting houses back in after they leveled them, they're putting in condos and townhouses and apartments. Nashville alone has a surplus of 18,000 apartments. You say, well, that solves the housing problem, right? No, it doesn't, because the loans that they had to take to build those apartments back during peak of the C19 and the time after, the loans they had to take out, they had such a high interest rate. There was so much debt incurred that they literally, the people who built those apartments have to charge $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And they would rather let them sit empty and tell the bank that they can't make any money than to put somebody in at a lower price and devalue the property even further.
I've heard exactly what you're talking about. That the same problem exists in Canada. I was specifically watching a video about Canada, but apparently it also applies here to the U.S. Right? Housing interest rates.
Massive over abundance of apartments, townhouses, and condos. The thing is that most young families starting out that want to buy starter homes, they don't want to live in a condo. They don't want to live in a townhouse. They don't want to live in an apartment. They're trying to get out of an apartment. They've lived in an apartment all through college. Now they want a house. They can't do it in most places. Now that is changing, but it's slow. It is slow.
I can understand the feeling of not wanting to do the townhouse thing just because it feels, because it's basically purchasing an apartment. I live in a townhouse now.
Right,
exactly. Which is an apartment, like it's an apartment-based townhouse. But like, you're wanting standalone. You want to have your neighbors actually be your
yard.
neighbors.
You want a yard and a porch.
Yeah. But there's
housing. Hold on, before we move on, and I want to hear what you have to say, Bam. Just quickly on that interest rates thing, I think it's really interesting what you said there, Gibbs. Sorry, excuse me, Grid. Oh, because you just want to have a G name. That's why I mixed you two up, right? Okay, you have a G name. That's why I did it. I apologize.
They look like cousins. They could be cousins.
Two times now.
They're both handsome individuals, right? And I can't tell the difference between.
They both got the steely blues.
And the steely blues, yeah. So
my eyes are gray,
but
steely grays. There we go.
Apologies, but in any case, right? So the thing about
my fault you got those glasses
interest rates, it's actually very important, right? Because housing doesn't get built instantly. Housing has a lead time, right? So it depends on the project, of course, right? But there's a certain lead time to do that. But you take the loans out at the start, right? And there was a point where the interest rates were so high, but like there was a thought the interest rates continued to rise, right? There was a thought that the housing market was going to keep going up, which just never fucking happens, of course, right? But in any case, like people took out loans, and this is across the board, not just for housing, right? But also for commercial projects, where they took out loans at a certain price, and now like they can't rent it out at the prices they were expecting to. And so, like you said, a lot of them are keeping them empty for a lot of the reasons that Grid is talking about. That's a really important part that most people don't discuss. So thanks for bringing that up. I just want to say
I don't understand the numbers. I don't understand the logic behind that. Whenever you
I
agree
don't
to the
either.
loan, you've already ran those numbers. Like your loan is going to be locked in at whatever that rate is at the time of
Sure.
purchase. So I don't like
Yeah.
you already understand what rent you can charge. at
Are
the
they
time of
basically
purchase.
telling the bank just fuck you, like try to sue us? Like what? I'm confused.
That's
as
really
to the
what they're
logic.
doing. No, that's exactly it. They're literally telling the bank. But all right, so if they put people in there at $1,000 a month and they're losing X number of dollars a month every month and they can't make their note,
Then
they would
shouldn't have
rather
made the
not pay
purchase.
any of it and dare the bank to take it, or do
But
something with it.
that seems like it's such an easy lawsuit. Did the banks
You agree?
agree that if you don't rent it out, then we won't charge you? Because if that's the case, then I could see it. And by the way,
It
what a
could be.
ridiculous
And look,
arrangement the banks would make.
I don't do apartments, so I'm not part of these deals. I just understand where they're at right now. There's like I said, they will not lower the price of the rent of the apartments, and they're all like $3,000 a month. Like the average price for a decent apartment in the Nashville area is like $2,000 a month, $2,100 a month, something like that. These apartments are the loans are based around them getting $3,000 a month rent for these apartments and townhouses.
Right,
And they
but
can't.
any business that's making that purchase already did these calculations before they make the purchase. You already know
Yes, the
whenever
market
you take on
changed
the loan.
radically. Yeah, the market changed radically.
I mean, in what ways are you saying the rent went down across the board?
Well, the rent didn't go up. The problem is the rent has stayed flat. The rent didn't go up. The rent here has
So,
been flat
I mean, why
because
is there? We keep building
we
them.
have an adequate supply of apartments and townhouses. They gambled and they lost. They gambled that there was going to be a continued mass in my area. I don't know about Canada. I don't know about any other areas. In this area, what happened is they gambled that there's going to continue to be a mass influx of people moving in that would buy these townhouses, apartments, and condos. That didn't happen. And when people do move here now, they're moving outside the city.
Mhm.
They don't want to live in the city. So there's plenty of property for sale. But that's just one aspect of it. The other part of it is I buy houses. We have a couple of realtors that feed us houses every day in the $200,000 range, which is the range that you're talking about, Prime, for starter homes and all of that sort of thing. And we bid against a lot of the people who are trying to buy starter homes. The problem with those people buying is not that the houses aren't there and that the houses are overpriced if they are. The problem is that with the way the interest rates are, the banks are not willing to loan to people who have credit issues. They just the biggest problem right now is that there's not a good program for people that are challenged with credit to get into a starter home, because the home's not gonna the bank isn't willing. Banks generically right now are not willing to take a massive risk on that property increasing in value dramatically, right? Especially if it's already a property that's maybe dent and dinged, it's got, needs some paint, needs some work, which is what we're buying. I'm buying fixer uppers, and then I have a guy that fixes them up. I don't know. I think their housing market's really interesting right now, and I think that there's a lot of mythology based around BlackRock, Vanguard, and some of these other firms, and I think it's very interesting. I go against Progress all the time, and I beat them every time. Progress, American Homes, Liberty, all of those guys, we beat them all the time. They used to a realtor would call Progress, American Homes for Rent, or Liberty, and there's a couple others. A realtor would call them up and say, "Hey, I've got a house. It fits your profile," and the rep at those companies would just say, "Yeah, just send us over the contract. We'll sign it. We'll take care of it. No problem." That's kind of stopped. They have so much real estate now. The real fear in the market, the thing that everyone's sitting at, in front of me and listening to me, the thing that you really need to fear is that the housing market does actually start to tank, or it starts to really accelerate. Because what'll happen is BlackRock will sell off its 7% of its holdings in real estate, and when that happens, it floods the market and it could crash the market. 100% could do it, and they'll do it just for take the profit. I would hope that they wouldn't.
We shouldn't have let them have be in that position in the first place. But again, I don't want to focus just on BlackRock because I think there is a bit of mythology there as well.
One last thing, Prime. I almost forgot. You covered such a wide swath.
Oh yeah, I
did. The immigrants. So one of the paths to citizenship, especially for countries like China, Taiwan,
Russia,
the Philippines, one of the paths to citizenship is through investment. They have to spend $500,000. So they don't care what the house actually is worth. They will offer $500,000 for the property because they have to spend $500,000.
So I think that investment's bigger than 500,000.
Well, it may have changed.
I mean, I think it's in the millions, but it's fine. My point is that like if it was just immigrants like putting an investment in and so they can get that the golden visa, right? Then that would be fine.
No, we're not talking about the golden visa. This has been something for a long time. One of the ways that someone can get a visa that's not a work visa or tourist visas, whatever, but they can get a visa into the U.S. and Canada through investment.
Yeah,
and I think it's $500,000. So their entire neighborhoods in Canada that were bought by people coming over from China, for example, who one guy would buy there and he'd tell all of his friends and they would all buy in that neighborhood and they drove the real estate market in Canada, in Toronto specifically, through the roof because they have to spend whatever $500,000 American equals to, or whatever the
real money.
Canadian.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
But
what I'm saying is that like that would in itself be an issue, but like it's more than that. People who aren't even intending to come here or to get that citizenship are putting that money to park their money because they're trying to just get out of their country. So that's like an issue on top of that. They're not even, we wouldn't call them immigrants, right? They're not even planning on coming here or doing anything. They're just putting their money into real estate. They have like companies that help facilitate these purchases where they're buying up these houses, cash offers, like on site, no inspection, where they'll buy these properties, these houses, these apartments, right? And hot housing markets as well, right? Because they want the more expensive.
Cal, you're muted.
Yeah. I think you're muted. Someone else.
So, anyways, right. That's all I had to say.
And I couldn't hear anything.
So you can, if you have to say something, I'll go ahead. You're muted. We can't hear you.
He doesn't have his headphones on. I'm pretty sure it's someone else.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry. He's talking to someone else.
Oh,
okay.
yeah,
Anyone else want to
somebody's
jump in?
office.
Sorry. We were talking a lot on this, but anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah.
Have you seen the price of chips lately? Can we talk about that? If we're talking about housing prices, children can't even afford bags of chips anymore when they go to the little grocery store.
Oh my God, the kids are going to get healthy.
No, honestly, I went at the grocery store yesterday, and it was like
$5, bro.
Usually have like the two bags, like the large size bags. It's usually like 2 for $6, 2 for $7. It was 2 for $12.
Dog, we're done.
Like, this is
we're
insane.
done.
Actually,
Ho-hos are $2, but you can't even get a cheap hoe anymore.
Day one.
Yeah,
I went to McDonald's and it was now this has actually been a while. But I went to McDonald's for like the first time in forever.
Yeah, you got to use the John
The
Cena
last
menu.
time I went to McDonald's, it was like $10, and all of a sudden it was like, I think it was $30 or $40 to go to freaking McDonald's.
$18 one day. The last time I got McDonald's was like a minute ago. It was $18 for like, I was like, what the fuck did I even get here?
You guys aren't using the app.
McMuffin.
You're not using the app. That's the problem. Seriously.
I'm not downloading an app. Fuck that.
Oh, you save so much money.
Yeah, but you're just a fucking, like, now you're a slave. You're a real slave at that point. You got to download the app.
They use dynamic pricing on those apps, right? They want you to start using that app, and then they're using dynamic pricing to like adjust it depending on the time, the date, and like they'll send you coupons at first to get you hooked on using the app, but then send you less coupons later on. They'll do.
I get a coupon. I get a coupon. No, I get a coupon every single time.
Well, you gotta hack it. There are hacks.
The coupon's not the best way.
Yes, they tell you on the coupon how often you could use it, like once a day or once every what you call it. Like
McDonald's.
McDonald's
specifically has got a great reward
McDonald's is
program.
actually trash. The only thing I ever get is a sausage McMuffin for breakfast, like once a week. But yeah, you should definitely use the app if you're gonna go there. But don't
have the app on your phone. Don't let them have your data like that, bro. Don't give McDonald's your data.
You can have my data. You can have my local. I've just never been one of those people.
I refuse.
Ronald McDonald, like once your house,
limits.
man.
I have limits to who can have my data, bro.
Son,
he's coming for you.
Let me put you on another app.
The 50 cents off the Egg McMuffin ain't worth it, Bam.
No, it's not 50 cents. Hold on. First of all,
it ain't worth it, Bam.
It's not
Their
the
pancakes are
coupons
really
that are
good.
good. It's not the coupons that are good for McDonald's. It's the rewards program, right? You earn the rewards. They'll give you like half your meal for free.
I've probably got like 20,000.
They're amazing. But the other one, the one that's better, I like all the plans that get like points and you can spend them. I went to Subway today and I had like $8 off my meal because I had like 1,700 points or something.
And that was still $12.
That was.
I gotta get a Subway account.
No, I got 2 subs and 3 bags of chips for like $15, and that was because
and that was your lunch.
Yeah, that's lunch and dinner. Gonna be lunch and dinner.
Subway is way too expensive.
But I was gonna say
Sonic
has every drink is half price if you use the app.
The one thing I hate about this is that soon
this
we're
is
gonna
America.
Where every like it becomes basically necessary to get the app for every single store.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna have to remember all these fucking passwords. So like I'm gonna like I gotta remember
you're gonna become Dennis from Always Sunny with all the fucking apps to make
generation are you in? I also hate people like you. You don't need that many passwords. No one is trying to hack you. Just get 1 to 2 passwords.
They're coming for me, man. I gotta
everyone's coming for
I have a different password for everything.
Have you seen Lactoid's takes on the internet? Everyone's coming for him. Okay.
Yeah, I have a different password. I gotta change up my passwords. I've
had 2 passwords since I was 12. I know everything I do.
Everyone but the motorcycle company.
That's smart.
It's same. Come for me, hackers.
Hold on, Lactoid. I have passwords that are different for every single one. They have a password app. All I do is I say Subway and I put my face up and it fills in my password for me.
Wait, hold on. Having a different password for everything and then having them all stored on one app that someone can access it like defeats the purpose of having
if they're able to use my face ID, then I'm either dead or unconscious. So
with AI, they're soon going to be able to use your face.
Okay, that's why we're getting away from Face ID and the Apple's going back to the side, the finger.
I like
they have the code.
I like the thumbprint. I've never went away from the thumbprint. But I'll say, quick question to y'all. Like we've talked about the issues of Ukraine. You talked about the issues of the housing market. What do you feel like Donald Trump? What is his plan to improve any of these situations?
Nothing, Doug. Donald Trump's plan is to have the best 4 years where he can scoop the most amount of money on the side and dip.
I don't think it's about money. I felt where you felt. I think he's too rich. I think Donald Trump is like at this
he has
point,
the power.
Everything he's doing is related.
I'm not sure he plans on dipping.
No. At this point, man, it's like he already has the fame. Here, so he became president, and it's like this is like just about power and like how much can I fucking do? The dude is just like in his method. He's methodically, he's tyrannical. It's fine. Like it's.
Bam, I disagree with you about. Bam, I disagree with you about the money. People, this is an argument that people keep giving me every time they're talking about a rich guy, right?
I'm not saying he's anti-money.
Wait, hold on.
I know.
He's using his position as president to like work in deals that he could have never worked in as just like a civilian.
I didn't say that you said he was anti-money, right? Well, the thing that I disagree with is just this notion that these rich guys, these billionaires, people who've been working to acquire more wealth, literally their entire lives, have suddenly stopped deciding to acquire more wealth. That these individuals, this is what they do, right? This is why they are rich as they are. Donald Trump for other reasons as well. But anyway, still, like these are why, in general, this is why they're rich, because they want money and they are looking for ways to make more money. And it's always foolish that apparently at some point in time, like we think that these people make a change and decide, I actually don't need much more. No, that's extremely rare. And Donald Trump has not shown the temperament at all to indicate that he's that type of person.
Okay, so I strongly disagree with you. Again, I don't think that he has a problem with making more money, but I think Donald Trump's desire, I don't know what to call it, his like to run for president again is related to legacy. I think in his mid 80s,
It could be more than one thing.
I think that Donald Trump can afford the things he wants to afford. I think he can live as lavishly as he wants to live. I think he's thinking at this point, wow, I want to be remembered for something. That's why he's
that's exactly. I was going to say
saving America. That's what
that doesn't mean it's a good thing. That doesn't make it a noble cause.
Saving America.
I'm saying that
he wants to be remembered as the best president. Period. He really.
I don't think he gives a fuck about that. I don't think he cares about that. His following, his constituents already see him as king and fucking like the second coming at this point. So I think he's not that accomplished. No. I don't mean it. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it for him. Like his followers, whatever like MAGA is, he's succeeded. He is the most famous, if not the best president to these people like forever. Right, like the left
history is not going to record him as the best president. I don't think he cares. History I don't as the best president.
I think he knows. I think he knows that the left and the media and all that, whoever controls like the books, will never give him best president. I think he knows that it lies with the people that follow him, and I don't think he cares. I think his ego is in control enough to where he knows he's in power, and he's just using that power. I think he's taking this power to become the best, like. Maybe not. I don't think president. I think he wants to be like the best American, right? Businessman out of New York, made president.
How's that different?
Because I
think this is cope. I think you're coping right now, bro.
Why?
This is the most
an anti-Trump person coping.
What about wait? What about this is cope?
Surprise!
I'm not like in tears over Trump.
This is the most amount of cope I've ever heard on this panel.
What's the cope?
You really think
so? That can't be true.
He wants to be known as the best American.
Oh yeah. I want to know what the cope is.
Thank you.
No, what's the cope? What's the cope? What am I coping about?
Wait, but y'all are connecting. Y'all are connecting his desires with his action. I don't think there's any connection between those two things. Like I agree with you that yes, Donald Trump wants to be seen. I think I wouldn't be shocked if he tries to get his face added to Mount Rushmore as the most influential, most important president of all time. But that doesn't mean that he's good at his job or any of his actions are leading him in that direction. I think he's bad for the country, but I think he wants to do things big and dramatic. So hopefully he ends up being remembered because of it.
Well,
I think he wants to be memorable. I don't think he's going to go down as best. I think it's memorable is all that matters to him.
Bam, I agree with you on that. I agree with anything. I think more than one thing can be true at once, right? I think that exactly he's always been concerned about self-image and he's always been wanting to be loved, right? He's an emotional black hole and he's desperate for approval, right? And like literal approval in terms of approval ratings is actually the one good thing about that is that he's actually quite responsive in terms of like his audience, right? Like his constituents, that like if he feels that they are turning against him, he changes course, right? He like constantly A/B tests his messages, right? With MAGA, and he says, "Okay, does this work? Then I'll try the opposite message. Does that work? Which one gets the best response?" And he'll just go with that. So so he wants to be, like you said, right? Great. He wants to be liked and he wants to be remembered, but that doesn't preclude making money. Right?
No, it doesn't all. Like I just said that his top priority
going to make money.
Isn't related. Like I feel the same is true for Elon Musk.
You want me to tell you? He wants to do real estate in Gaza. How's he going to make money?
Well, there's that grid. Like he literally rug pulled his fucking audience, right?
Yeah,
his constituents just before he got started. Yeah, he literally rug pulled him twice.
Did he really?
Yes, with Trump and the Melania coin, the meme coin. Yeah. Like look, you don't have to believe me. Look at the charts. The charts are out there.
I can only listen to one, guys.
Sorry. You don't have. So yes, he did. Sorry, he did a rug pull twice. One with Trump coin, one with Melania coin. Melania coin was even worse than the Trump coin.
And Barron coin guys buy now.
I haven't seen anything about. I've heard about it, but I haven't followed Barron coin.
Yeah,
but
I don't follow meme coin. You guys, I got no.
But he literally rug pulled his audience. Right. He's okay. There's another thing. He's getting $5 million like lunch dates with him, right, by business owners. Like this is a hot new commodity within the business.
You can pay. sit down.
$5 million to Trump to have a sit down dinner or whatever with him, and people are lining up. Now
why wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, but like that's how he's making money off of this. Is like the point.
Yeah,
It's
he
not, it's
definitely
not,
making money. I mean, half of his campaign finance went to his personal stuff.
One?
Like it wasn't like for campaigns purposes. Like he's still making money.
Gibbs, have you bought one?
Listen,
are you paying $5 million for that?
I tell you what, if I had $5 million just sitting there,
I mean, you said why wouldn't you? Okay, so that's the reason why wouldn't you is because you don't.
Well, Gibbs doesn't have enough money to like.
You just answered your own question.
I don't have $5 million I can just throw away at lunch, but I'll tell you what, if I did,
I agree. It's throwing it away. That's what it is. Yeah.
No, it's not because you listen. Okay, if you don't think, let's say that you get no benefit other than you got to take a photo with Trump at lunch. Let's just say that's the only benefit you got. All right.
That's a big benefit.
If you
that
have
can
the
be
money,
if you're the right person.
Yeah, right. If you have the money to throw $5 million away for that photograph, that is absolutely worth just the photograph. Like I would say, like if you can market that well, not even factoring in the fact that he may generate policy that's advantageous.
Right, you just described it.
I don't think the picture matters, but Donald Trump, if you go to that lunch,
what's wrong with bribes, like how
good enough? If you can get them right to the edge and say the words, then absolutely Trump will do whatever you say. Trump is like,
I mean, Elon listens to
better
tweets.
Or worse, he's extremely kind to people he thinks.
Yeah, you can just add Elon.
All you have to do is at Elon, and you'll get a word in with the president. You don't got to pay $5 million.
But so what I say is the same motivations I think are true of Elon. I think that Elon is obviously self-interested in making money, but I think that he could, as of right now, if you watch Tesla stock and the way that Donald Trump talks about electric vehicles, I think there's ways that Elon Musk could be placing himself to potentially make more money than he's currently making. But Elon also has a fascination with power and being seen a certain way, and he wants to be remembered as like the most
two peas in a
influential
pod.
person of
Exactly.
the 21st
No,
century.
I love this hate of Elon. If he left as when like 5 years ago they loved him.
No, that's not the case.
Who loved Elon 5 years ago?
I'm confused as to like are you guys just saying like, oh, like Trump wants power? Is that
no, not really power even. Power is great for creating legacy, but Trump, like I said, I think Trump wants legacy. I think in his late 80s or
I think like
Early,
personal ambition is going to motivate basically anybody for any job. I think it's especially true when it comes to like presidents. But I guess the connotation here is that this is like some kind of critically bad thing.
No, it's not critically bad. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with that.
Right.
It was just. I think it started as a conversation around like, oh, Trump is doing this so he can make as much money as possible. And it's like, yeah, he likes making money, but I think that comes secondary to.
Well, I said that. I was like,
at this point,
I was like,
who here doesn't like making money?
This
I like
rug
making
pull thing is really interesting. Do you know that
my
Trump
career
still owns
says
80%
I don't
of the
apparently.
coin?
He owned 80%.
That's really
of the coin?
interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that seems like the rug pull probably hurt him more than anybody.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
It did not hurt him.
Grid, no.
Well, Trump
maybe
apparently owns
reputationally.
80% of his meme coin.
that's how you rug pull.
Yeah, that's how you do the rug pull.
You sell,
Right?
you like let's just say
But
you
he
own
didn't sell
100%.
it. He still owns it.
He can't sell it, and so the idea is like you can only sell it after a certain vesting period. And so there was like a massive amount initially, but then it started going down and down and down. And if it and so Trump can't
So
sell.
no,
anything
the way it works
Yeah.
out, the way I understand it is like
with
let's just say there's like 100 of these coins. You only put out like 50 or 60 into the market. Everyone buys in, and then you're still holding 40. You then introduce those 40 into the market. The shares go down, so it's devalued. It's
Right.
like technically devalued, but like
I
not really because
but
you
the
made
shares
all the
are
money.
shit. Yeah, but the shares are
You made
shit
all the
now.
money.
Well, no. The shares are shit now before Donald Trump can even sell.
The shares are not shit.
He still owns
shares-
80% of the coin.
Hold on, let me-
Yeah, so that's not a rug
look it up.
pull then.
But that no.
Well, no, there
hold on,
was
no.
a rug pull because a developer who was paid in coin, obviously. It says the link to the developer's wallet. He had like $2 million worth or something like. Or hold on, let me look at it again.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily a rug pull by Donald Trump if he owns 80% of it still.
Yeah, but it's not. You don't understand. He's not just making money off the value of the coins. He's mainly making money off of.
Look, it's
He's
either
mainly making money
or
off
it's
of the
not.
liquidity
All right,
pool
so here we
fees,
go.
which he gets no matter what happens to the price of the stock. That's what he's making.
Received, and it looks like it's a developer received 2% of the entire supply. Trump still owns 80% of the supply. That seller.
But that's not
their full 2%.
That's not what I just said. What I just said was that he's making money off the liquidity pool fees, which aren't linked to the price of the stock at all. Just if there's any transaction happening at all, he's making like $36 million just off the liquidity pool fees.
Like I don't know if that's
wait, that is hold on, that is true,
like
but
it's $100 million in trading fees.
I mean, that's
but that
I didn't learn this from this. I learned this from the other girl. What's her name?
Haktula.
Did her own.
Yeah.
She made her money off of liquidity pool fees, not so much the value.
Well, hold on, but her pool fees were extraordinarily high, right? So like
sure.
a much higher percentage of her. Yeah, a much higher percentage of her. Like when you look at the percentages, it was pretty whack. But on this one, like there's a huge
reports there's
like huge rift between 100 million and the claimed
I can
56 billion that the
I can build a bridge here. Like he didn't make the billions that the initial reports like were predicting that he was going to make, but he did make like tens of millions, potentially hundreds of millions off of the rug pull. So like I mean the project itself made $350 million. How much of that went directly into his pocket? I don't know.
The president shouldn't be doing that. Is the point? Like you shouldn't have a president who's doing that.
Jimmy Carter had to sell his
to our civilians.
The Constitution specifically has a ban on this kind of activity. It's just
and the Melania coin is worse. The Melania coin is owned by the Trump family. Yeah, like the
and by the way, apparently there's a Barron coin, and it turns out he has nothing to do with it.
Buy the Barron coin.
No, Gibbs. He has nothing to do with it. He went on Twitter and said like somebody just stole my name and made it a meme coin.
Yeah,
I mean, sure, but like the why? Because they know that if you use the name, that people are going to invest regardless.
About the why, guys.
I mean, right now, but
if you're going to, I'm not saying it's investment advice, but if I were to invest in a meme coin, guys, Barron.
Oh my God,
you know. But like
not
it's
financial
just like,
advice, please. So God,
it just speaks to like
the
character of
don't ever buy. Don't ever
money
buy
on that
coin.
investment. Go to Gibbs.
Don't buy meme coins. You get what you get. They're all going to be pulled. That's the entire purpose.
Yeah, but doesn't that speak to the character of the president that you have? That he's part of a coin that's willing to be pulled. It's a meme coin.
The president. All right, the president lent his name to something and was given 80% of it.
Yeah, okay. Bro, you guys will cover for anything, man.
It's like, hold on. If he
lent his name, that's literally what it is. All right, and now they're saying
his name to a pyramid scheme, bro.
They're trying to point the finger since they can't point the finger at Trump himself because apparently
they can.
Was
we can't point the finger.
He's the face of the coin. I don't care if there's a different person. The president.
The shit coin's pretty bad.
It's just pretty bad, Blackdoid.
Sorry, let Grid make his point. Go ahead, Grid.
Yeah, it apparently says that the guy whose wallet was linked to the sell-off of the 2% is now pointing the finger actually at Barron. Says the only person to have the keys is BT. I guess that's I don't know what that means in meme coin language.
What does any of this matter?
Yeah, so Grid.
Dude tweeted out, "Hey, buy my coin," and then everyone bought his coin.
If Trump, because Trump licenses his name all the time. This is a big thing he does, right?
Yeah.
Most of the Trump hotels are just like Trump licensed hotels. The Trump name is attached to it. But okay, so if he did the same thing to a straight up pyramid scheme, right? And he understood it was a scam. He understood exactly what it is, and he licensed his name towards it.
Yeah, that's a big assumption.
That is a big assumption.
Hold on, but Trump has been critical of the coins previously, of crypto previously, right? We have statements from Trump saying that like crypto is a scam, like so we can look at those statements. Yeah. So in any case, right? So if he does that with full knowledge, right, and then hold
on, full knowledge of what?
That's a scam. That's a scam. Yeah. That's
what if he was assured by somebody who is a legend in Bitcoin that this is not a scam?
hold on. Someone can say that, but we can understand that a person like knows otherwise. So you can just like make the statement,
you can
but a person should know.
You can no.
But he already stated it previously. But I don't have.
You're assuming we have. Yeah, there's context for what I'm saying. You're making the assumption.
When did he say, "I knew it was a scam"?
Yeah, crypto. That crypto's a scam. We can look it up. He has statements.
When he said, "My coin is a scam."
He doesn't have to say that. Sorry, that's not how that works.
That's standard.
That's not how that works.
You wouldn't hold Joe Biden.
It is true though.
Yeah,
that Trump will often lean on perceptions of his own being an idiot.
Hunter Biden coins. If he did that, you would not get. You would not. Did he say he knew it was a scam? You wouldn't play this game.
Sorry, what are you going to say, Aiko?
Who needs a coin when you have
Burisma?
I was going to say, we know that there are more people than just.
One second. Hold on, one second. Aiko, jumping in. Go ahead. Aiko, say your thing and you can respond.
We know that Trump, not just Trump, but there are a lot of people who will do this, who will rely on their reputation as being an idiot to get them out of all kinds of like culpability, right? Is that, people perceive me as an idiot, so I can do all of these things, and just then people will just cover for me by saying, yeah, I'm an idiot. I don't know that it's a scam. But that's not how it works, especially when you're talking about culpability in courts of law.
I didn't say that. I didn't.
Well, good,
I'm
because
saying
I wouldn't allow
that. The assumption that he knew it was a scam. I think that's a. And the fact that he said crypto is a
assumption that he's not
also a big assumption, because he was at the crypto convention where he talked to all of the crypto people at length.
Recently, but in the past, he said crypto was a scam.
Hold on. Wait. Those two are not like. All right, I listen. I get it. I get y'all don't like Trump, but the statement I think crypto's a scam. Right? Okay, is not the same as my meme coin is a scam, right? And I'll tell you why, right? So if I go and I've advocated many times that I don't really like investing in crypto. I think it's too volatile, right? It's not my style of investment, except my Bitcoin anyway. But we're gonna sit here and go, hey, I go to the crypto convention. And I talk to all these industry leaders, and they go, Gibbs, let me tell you about this. They tell me all the goodies, all this stuff, and they're very convincing. So I invest all of my stuff in some coins. And then, all right, cool, whatever. Shit happens. We have Gibbs coin. It comes out, and they've bamboozled me with all their knowledge into thinking, okay.
Yeah, so you shouldn't be president.
But whatever, sure. Like, whatever. But
was Hunter's...
Anybody who's ever made a bad investment shouldn't be president? Is that what you're saying?
I think if you're
500K each.
Anybody that's ever made a bad investment shouldn't be president.
No, I think if you're the president, I think in the past, if you say crypto is a scam, then you go to a convention and all these bigwigs convince you that crypto isn't a scam, and then your crypto is a scam. I think you shouldn't be president.
Well,
I think that's
let's look at that timeline.
That says something about what's
just to be
going
clear.
on.
Just to be clear, he said, and this was right after a Bitcoin crash in 2021. Mm-hmm. He said it seems like a scam. Like that was the statement, and
he also said the crypto is a disaster waiting to happen.
When was that?
Hold on, I'm getting it right now.
Because the overall like American attitudes towards crypto have changed pretty dramatically.
This is from the Fox News article. Trump warns crypto potentially disaster waiting to happen.
Hold on. People's opinions.
What year was this?
Like imagine how many Christians go, oh, Christianity's a scam, then become Christian. How many people are like Muslims now? They're like religion's a scam, and now
you know what we call them? We call them grifters. We call Nala a grifter. We call Sneeko a grifter. We call Tate. We call Tate a grifter.
Nala is a nice lady. Nala is a nice lady.
Nala's a grifter. Tate is a grifter. Sneeko's a grifter. Everyone that does the whole religious, the whole fuckboy or OF thought turned religious is a grift. It is a grift.
So you're saying, okay, so
the only person I trust in that is Andrew Wilson. I believe him. I believe him in his Christian nationalism.
Okay, so hold on. So you're arguing. Listen, I know that you're not a Christian, but this would be like me arguing that Saul, that became Paul, the apostle, is not actually an apostle. He's actually just a grifter. That would be like what
I do think Paul's a grifter. I think Paul's the greatest grifter.
I know Paul got tons of demons poured out of him.
I think Paul is the greatest of grifters.
Demons poured out of him.
I'm looking at a Fox News article. I'm looking at a Fox News article, and it does a very good job of reporting this. It says former President Trump warned on Tuesday that investing in cryptocurrencies is "quote unquote" potentially a disaster waiting to happen. Trump said he has quote unquote, not a big fan of cryptocurrencies during an exclusive interview on Varney and Company Tuesday night, noting that he does not invest in Bitcoin and other digital currencies. Quote, I like the currency of the United States, end quote, Trump said to Stuart Varney. He argued that investing in cryptocurrencies, quote, hurts the United States currency and, quote, we should be invested in our currency. Trump's attacks on cryptos was the second made by the former president on Fox Business as Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies remain unregulated in the United States. In June, Trump told Varney that Bitcoin seems like a, quote, scam, and the euphoria surrounding the world's largest cryptocurrency is watering down the U.S. dollar. Quote, the currency of this world should be the dollar. And I don't think we should, and I don't think we should have all of the Bitcoins of the world out there. But now he's doing a reserve. Interesting. I think they should regulate them very, very high, end quote. Trump told Varney at the time, adding, quote, it takes the edge off the dollar and the importance of the dollar. On Tuesday, Trump said cryptocurrencies, quote, may be fake. Like, I don't know, like, how many times, like, it goes down and down and saying he's very clear as to what he's saying, right? About cryptocurrencies. And now, sorry, I think it was 2021. Hold on, I'll find it for you.
Yes, he's highly, in 2021, he's highly skeptical. 2021, he's highly skeptical.
Yeah, it's August 31st,
and in 2025, he has a rug pull. That's like, what does that say?
2021, and he's like, hey, I don't know about this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it might be a scam. And then
in 2025, it is a scam.
Figuring it out, and he comes back and he's like,
and then he commits the scam. Yeah, exactly. Got you.
So he realizes it's a scam. He realizes how he can use it to his benefit. Does it?
This is the best.
What do you mean it's an assumption? Wait. The guy has an opinion.
Trump actually scammed people.
Yeah.
Was Hunter Biden's artwork worth $500K each?
No, bro. I'm not a Biden guy. Don't talk
to me about that. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
It was
a scam. Let's say it was a scam. Hold on. Yeah, sure. It was a scam. Absolutely. But we can move on. Now we can talk about Trump's scam.
Send them to jail. I don't care. I'm not a Biden guy.
Biden here. No one gives a fuck.
I believe it's a scam.
So yeah, no, it's a scam. No,
you don't believe it's a scam, but the guy
Hunter Biden's art's a scam. George W. Bush's paintings are a
Everything
scam.
Is a scam.
Right? They're not worth anything.
They're probably not a scam.
Yeah, what? Yeah,
anything a Republican does isn't a scam.
I don't care. But I'm saying it literally doesn't
matter.
Biden
being in charge was a scam.
Yes.
Sure. Well, now that we've established
Biden operating as president while having dementia was a
hold on. Now we've established all that. Now we can circle back to the topic and talk about Trump's scam, right? So yes, I've given you a whole list of quotes, right, where he made extremely clear that he understands how cryptocurrencies work, right? And then, yeah, I know exactly one, but he's not the only one who does this, right?
USA
so
is a scam.
We have exactly, sure, whatever. Doesn't matter. Hold on. We have a whole list. We have a whole list of celebrities doing exactly this, right? If you follow CoffeeZilla, I'm not sure if you've ever heard seen this channel before. If you CoffeeZilla, there's a whole list of these individuals who, like, at first say they understand that this is a scam until they're offered the money for the scam, and then they do it, right? Kanye West said, like, specifically, he thought it was a scam, and then he got offered the money, and then he did the scam, right? Adam 22,
that was
he said he thought it was a scam, and then after he got offered the money, right, then he did the scam. Like, we can understand this. Now he got brought into the grift, right? The money was going into his pocket, not someone else's pocket. Then all of a sudden, his tune changes. We can understand this. Let's not pretend we're children here.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand the caping grid. Like, the guy thought it was a scam before. Fine, 4 years ago he thought it was a scam. Understood. But there's only two options here. Either he knew it was a scam going forward in 2025, or he's so ignorant that the people around him convinced him to be part.
Why does he have to be ignorant?
I can finish my statement.
You've never been convinced.
I can finish my statement, and you'll know why he has to be ignorant to make that decision. Okay, cool.
No,
I can finish my statement. I'm going to finish my statement.
Why are you seriously?
I'm gonna finish my statement. My statement's gonna be finished.
You're asking him a question. Let him answer the question. Go ahead.
There's two options. Either he knew of the grift, which is what we're saying.
There's more.
Oh my God, my statement's gonna be finished. Anyways, there's two options.
I know.
My statement, two options.
Why are there two options?
Because it's my statement. It's my statement. It's my hypothetical. You engage or you don't know how to engage. Anyways, either he knows that it's a grift going into 2025. Either he knows it's a grift going into 2025, right? Or
reject the premises.
Or you're saying the guy is so ignorant that he thought it was a grift before or thought it was a scam before, and then 4 years later got convinced into signing his name onto a scam. Which one is it?
I'm trying to figure out why you think that just
because it was a scam, because he scammed the people with his coin.
Once, they can't change their mind, and also at the same time that they can't be, someone can't say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and it's going to work, and it will be different this time. And that person who's a smart person say, yeah, okay, sounds good. Let's do it.
Sorry, we don't have to focus on their intentions. We can actually focus on the actions, right? Like, so we don't have to try to mind read him. One, we can just look at his statements, right? And then we can go from there. So there's that, the statements he's actually said, right? So there's that. And then two, following those statements years later, he actually does the scam. Then he actually does the rug pull. So we don't have to like go into his mind. We don't have to like make all these decisions.
You don't have to
make statements about his intentions that you don't know. That we don't have to do the same thing either, right? We can just look at the actual actions, the words, the statements, and then what followed from there. Correct?
Yo, if any other president did this,
we don't have
if
to
any other like Democrat did this.
Hold on, I would like to bring up that's perfect segue. Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in here. This is a perfect segue into what I was saying. If any other president did this, I'm really glad you made that statement because a great American once told me 2 half nothings is a whole lot of nothing, right? And that great American was Foghorn Leghorn, so you can take it home, put it in your pocketbook, all right? And when I hear this now, it's really rich to me. Whenever I've seen reports coming out today about how the Biden presidency, the guy didn't even know where he was at. They used an auto signature, and these people on the left were so moral and so upright. They were supporting this decrepit mold shell of a human being.
Yeah, the left is filled with idiots.
And perpetuated possibly the biggest scam of all time on the American people by, trying to convince us this man was even mentally fit to walk, much less be president.
Still talking about Biden?
Hold on. I'm not finished. And then they want us to turn around and be a Republican to give 2 fucks about Trump making some money on a reputed scam. Oh no, the meme coin. Bitch, you put a dead body in office.
Then he ran an excellent presidency.
Let me finish.
I'm not even gonna.
Hold on. Let me finish. I got one sentence. Y'all want me to sit here and give 2 flying fucks about what some idiots did and buying a meme coin, and then y'all want us to care about that at all? I want you to know the average American doesn't give 2 fucks about this. And then when y'all whine and bitch about this after we find out for the last 4 years the Dems pushed a guy that literally was speaking at Bernie's, we don't care. I'm sorry.
Lactoid, are you still here?
And you look pathetic.
Wait. I just want to talk to Lactoid real quick. Lactoid, are you still here?
What happened?
Okay,
your bits are dropping.
Yeah.
So you can,
I want
really
pick up your bits.
I wanted to talk to him if you can hear. I want to, because like when I ask you. Wait, don't.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure something out on my end.
Okay, he's glitching.
We'll get back to you, friend. All right.
No, when he's back, I want to talk to him.
I want to hear Lucio Logic's scope. Come on.
Wait a minute.
Oh, it's not a cope, it's a question. I want to talk to Lactoid when he's here, though.
When he gets back, clear that up. I just want to say that, I could be. The thing is, I would still think it's a problem. But I could accept that, this is a man with a vision I disagree with. If Donald Trump actually got the Republican Party behind actually cutting spending and doing I don't think even if you wanted to, you could balance the budget, but actually did something to cut spending. If that was actually just a difference in fundamental belief, I could be like, you know what, the deficit is a legitimate problem. Let's figure out let's figure that out. We have different methodologies, but you're doing something, but that's not what he's doing. There is no plan. There is no foundation. Nothing this administration is doing makes any sense at all.
It makes sense to most of us. After his
tell me why is the economy dropping out of the sky?
Hold on, you understand that? I came on these platforms the day after the state of the congressional address, and everybody I watched all day on the left, and then I get a poll. I see polling from CNN and MSNBC, and both of them say on their spot polls, when their audience is predominantly left, it said 76% approval rate. The average Americans like what Trump's doing. I hate to bring
wait. I want. Can I?
Was that a spot poll or was that an actual?
They're referencing people who watch. They're referencing specifically people who watch the address, and people that watch the address aren't average American. It's going to overwhelmingly favor.
Everybody's watched the address now at this point.
No, everybody hasn't. Most people haven't, actually. Most people don't, especially as late as it was at night. The majority of people didn't tune into the congressional address. The people who watched it
now culture at this point. Like it's like you're arguing that you're fighting shadow boxing.
But most people get like Twitter clips. If you talk to a normie person, no one sat through the 96
different Twitter clips. You've watched like half the speech.
No, that's not the same thing.
It's an hour-long speech. The fuck?
People who watch
over an hour long. It's 100 minutes.
Hold on. Not all Twitter clips are 1 minute long. Some of them are like 2
It's 100 minutes long.
Yeah, people who watch 30 minutes for the third with 10 clips. Boom.
People who watch Twitter clips aren't factored into that polling. The polling is specifically of people who sat down in front of their televisions to watch it live. He did poll really well among those people, but every president does. Every president polls well because the people who watch it tend to be the people who actually tune in to sit through that, are people who think highly of the president themselves. Trump's actual approval ratings continue to tank. He came in with some of the lowest approval ratings of any incoming president, and has continued to dip time after time. Like, why is if you could tell me why our economy is currently tanking right now?
It's not. It's revving along great, by the way. But thanks.
No, yeah. Tommy Tuberville came out and said that the stock market was
Tommy Tuberville. We're talking about the coach. What are we talking about?
He's a senator. So I know what the he is. But yeah, Tommy Tuberville said that we're bringing down the price of bringing down the price of the stock market to make it affordable for the average American. This is a quote he said. I'm not. This is what he thinks. He says that he said it was bloated and we're bringing it down.
Wait, it's the same Tommy.
We're reducing stock inflation.
Yes, Tommy Tuberville, they used to coach at Auburn, Alabama, is a senator. Yes, that's
holy shit.
How am I coming through, guys?
Yeah. You're good now. You're good, Lactoid.
Okay, the problem was with my OBS for some reason. My OBS was fucking me over.
Lactoid, I want to ask you. So, you agree that the rug pull is bad, right? It's it's pretty bad, but it's bad, right?
I think I would prefer, just given where he's at with it, I'd prefer to. I'm not sure he really rug pulled. I would agree it's like a crypto bullshit coin, and I think that anybody who starts a crypto bullshit coin and uses their platform, especially if they're a politician, to try to make
especially
money off that.
President of the United
States.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not good. It's
and
not
so
good. Definitely worthy of criticism.
My issue is that there seems to be a bunch of things that are well, that's not good, and then that's not good, and then that's not good, and okay, maybe you're a bit more reasonable. I don't think Grid is has the biggest cape on me. He has a small cape, but then there's Gibbs, right? Who is who has the full Superman costume? Who has the full Superman costume on? And so this is the surroundings, right? And sometimes I feel the people that are reasonable are kind of being convinced by the Gibbses, right? And it's you're just kind of going along for the ride, and it's I'm kind of worried that we excuse him for everything until everything collapses, and then when everything collapses, we're fucked, and we don't know what to do.
I think what it is look, maybe I think Gibbs has a very mask-off kind of philosophy on things. He's got a very interesting perspective when it comes to just his perspective on how to deal with politics. You can be critical of somebody though and still say, well, overall, here are some good things that they've done, and here are overall, I think that they're a benefit. And I said that from the very beginning, right? Even back when I decided to vote for Trump, I said that I'm not going to stop criticizing him, and there's always things you're going to be able to point out that are fucked. And I even said this meme coin, I think, really left the taste of shit in my mouth just prior to the election. I mean, it was really, or just prior to the.
I honestly hadn't paid any attention
to him.
The reason why the Gibbses are convincing sociologic is because the Gibbses are right. And we keep end up being right repeatedly. That's why we're convincing. Eventually, people go, "Hey, maybe we should listen to the guy that keeps end up being right," and then suddenly,
Actually, if you want me to ask, in this whole thing, I think the people who don't make a fan or who don't become fans or like super fans of like a president and just actually hold him as like it's a job that he's doing and don't become fanatic over him, I think they're the ones who are right. That's kind of my issue with like the MAGA thing is that it seems that like there's a bunch of things that we could talk about, and if like it doesn't have to be that he's a completely wrong, but anytime you say anything about Trump, it becomes no, he's right. There's a plan. There's 4D chess. You got to wait till 10 years in the future. You don't know the guy. You don't know Elon. You're not as smart. All these capes start coming out. It's like, yo, can we just have a real conversation? Because I'm not a leftist. I haven't been pro Biden. I'm not like a Democrat guy. And so it's like I feel like I sit like right in the middle, and it feels like everyone on the right is kind of going as extreme as everyone on the left. And it's just like, that is one, I don't think it's good. I don't think like a country being this divided is good. I don't think us having a conversation about whether or not, like, I don't think half the country reeing and spurring about like the guy potentially becoming dictator or being like tyrannical is a good thing. It's not good to have this type of shit within the country. And so it's like, I want to have reasonable conversations, but it's always a defense. And it's like, hey, we can like Lacto, to your point, you're a bit more critical, right, than the average like MAGA. But like then it's like you talk to people and they're like, "No, I'm invested in the coins. You don't even know, you stupid fucks. Wait for 4 years." It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Come
and
on.
there's always people like, for me, there's like you do run into the people that I think are kind of like crazy, right? Like, yeah, especially when it came to some people saying, "Yeah, Trump should just ignore the Supreme Court. Fuck the Supreme Court." Like those people scare me. There's no doubt, right? I do think though, there's a lot of people that hold Trump to this very high standard beyond what they'd ever hold to any other president at, because they really just hate the guy. And then they'll take something that he does that's like suboptimal, and then they'll dress it up like this is like the worst thing in the world, and they'll use that to attack him. Like, I don't know. I think the budget, I've been ultimately going back to what Bam was saying, like what have I liked about this? I think the budget had some really good things about it.
You think he's going to make the spending the
spending cuts? Yeah.
To like he's going to cut $1 trillion out of.
Well, but hopefully, I mean that's what's in the bill, right? The bill has spending cuts in it, and it's going to continue the tax cuts, which I think are also good. I think his activities on Ukraine have been very good.
Sure, like let's deal with the budget right there. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I could accept it if it was like, oh, okay, there's a plan and a philosophy, and they act. But like the way the budget works, the only way you could possibly make that work, and you need 60 votes, regardless. The only way you could possibly make the spending cuts.
Not for a budget.
Yeah, I think you still need 60.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think you need a
reconciliation. You might be able to do it 51, but to pass a new budget, you need 60.
I could be wrong. I don't think that's the case. I'm pretty sure there's exceptions.
Yeah, just look it up.
You could pass with 51, but it's going to be filibustered because that's the way we operate now.
No. I don't think you can filibuster. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Because even the Republicans Republicans were coming out and like, this is a budget. A budget has to be like a new continuing reconciliation. It can be done with 51. But I think if you want to create a new budget, you need 60 votes. That has to be that a budget has to be bipartisan. And if while someone's looking that up to confirm, like the only way
I don't think it's true, but I don't know.
The only way you get to the trillion in cuts is to deal with is to make cuts towards Medicaid and Medicare. And Donald Trump is something out saying that he's going to cut $1 trillion, but he's also promising that he's not going to make any cuts towards Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security. These three positions are impossible to hold simultaneously. Because his argument is he said he's going to outgrow it. He's like, we're just going to outgrow the debt.
Hold on. So if budget reconciliation doesn't need a 60 votes, couldn't they just do the spending cuts with that?
No, I think a reconciliation continuation is just basically we're agreeing to the same money as prior. We're not making any changes or any massive changes. I think a new budget requires 60 votes.
Well, so the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed with 51 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that cut taxes, right?
Let's see.
But while you two are looking that up, yeah, Milani Coins also is a scam. I put that in the group DM. Like the money, the rug pull, right, happens within the first few hours of the initial offering. And then from there, it just drops like a rock. That's where the money is made, and then any other money additionally on transactions happens. But clear and literally the people who did the Melania coin, right, also did the Javier Libra coin down in was it Chile?
Argentina.
Argentina, excuse me. Thank you so much. Argentina. Like literally the same team did that. These are scams that are happening. And then furthermore, right, it's another way to funnel money towards Trump, right? Because you have these coins, you can just funnel money towards Trump. If you're a person who wants a favor, right, a good way is just to buy the coin. Just buy the coin. Like another investment that puts money in his pocket. That's how you can get favors from Trump.
It's also
right?
a way to launder money from specifically places like Russia, where the money is traceable to things that are like not so good, and you can put them through here. It makes
All
it
Bitcoin, all
impossible
electronic
to trace.
currency is traceable, 100%.
Well, no, but what I mean is, no one. If you're making a serious investment into, say, for instance, those Russian oligarchs that were paying 2 to 3 times the market rate for Trump properties that they were buying, that might be a little bit more risky. But if you put it into a meme coin, it's far less likely to be investigated, especially now when the DOJ is under control of of this particular White House. No one's going to investigate anybody who's buying Trump meme coins.
Okay, I'm looking at an NPR article now on why they're going with reconciliation, and they're saying that they're extending more time because they, like, for a full budget, they would need 60 votes.
Yeah, but you can use reconciliation bills to cut spending.
But
so I mean, they can do this.
Such that they want to do, they can. It doesn't seem that's possible.
Well, no, you can cut mandatory spending with a budget reconciliation. You can cut it.
For some reason, what Trump wants to do can't be done via reconciliation.
I don't think that's true.
I'm just reading the article. That's the reason why
the article says that he can't do spending cuts.
Yes, well, that's what we're doing now is just a continuing resolution. We're keeping this funding exactly where it is now. Like if they could cut them before, they would have already done it.
I posted.
Well, and also you can't start.
I posted. This is from the Wharton, and they're saying that in the 2025 House budget reconciliation includes budget reconciliation instructions calling for 1.7 trillion in net spending cuts.
Yeah, the House can do that. Bills that start in the House are able to go through reconciliation because the House controls the purse. You can't start it in the Senate. I think that's part of what Bam's talking about, if he's talking about the Senate.
No, but with reconciliation, you only need 51 votes in the Senate.
But it has to start in the House and then go to the Senate. They can't start in
the
Senate.
But that's all spending bills, but we can do, like, the Republicans have both the House and the Senate, so they can do that.
Yeah. This is the case.
If it starts in the House.
I'm about to say every politician has came out and said that they can't do this without 60 votes.
Well, no,
can't do what?
I'll read this thing. I'm pretty sure the concern in this NPR article, and I've seen other concerns about this, is they might not be able to get 51 Republicans on board with some of the spending plans and cuts that they have planned.
51. They're talking about 60. They're saying that they need Democrats. It has to be bipartisan.
Where does it says 60?
At the last article. Last paragraph.
Yeah, I mean that's not true. Like
what are the parliamentarians' rulings?
There might have been things in that bill that the parliamentarian ruled is not budget related, and therefore can't be part of the deal. But that doesn't mean no bill can pass.
No,
that they have to do a CR. It's not true that they have to do a CR. But it might be that nothing beyond a CR will pass, especially the House, right? Because it would only take 2 Republicans to stop that from happening.
Yeah. Did Bam said, and maybe I missed it, that they have to pass continuing resolution? I think he's talking about the rules as to. I mean, did you say that, Bam? That it has to be.
So is it a simple majority or a super majority or what? Because I think
simple majority is 60. Simple majority is 51.
Someone is saying it's a simple majority.
Yeah, simple majority, but it's
50 plus 1 would be a simple majority. So
50 plus 1, 51. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, 51.
Well, okay. It would be like a 50-50 tie, and then Vance comes in and breaks the tie.
Yeah,
just to be clear.
Let's see.
So, I mean,
But like what I'm confused about is that you for sure can use budget reconciliation to make like massive spending cuts, including on things like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, like stuff like that.
I don't know. They disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really adjudicate this.
There's tons. I'm sending more and more articles related to it on why like this can be done now, but what they're gonna need is anyways. Past that point, there doesn't like if like I say if Donald Trump came out of the face of the Republican Party and said that you know what. We're doing it for the good of the future. We're making cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. One, the House and Senate, like the Republicans would lose tons of seats. They just would. But I would be frustrated, but I would respect that there's a solid philosophy. You understand what actually has to be subtracted to hit that $1 trillion number of savings, or if you actually want to make any dents into the deficit. But don't continue to talk about the deficit what's the tax cuts, whenever they do pass, are going to add $2 trillion to the deficit as part of what exists right now. In the best case scenario, like don't continue to deficit spend and make the claims that.
Well, he also ran on not touching Social Security and Medicare. So if he turns,
it's coming from Medicaid. Yeah, it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna touch Medicare or Social Security. But when it comes to the deficit, I mean, yeah, I agree. The deficit is a problem for sure. The deficit, in my opinion, is just delayed taxation, and I think that the fact that spending is getting cut is a kind of a step in the right direction. I would like to see spending cut even more, for sure. But if we're seeing spending cuts and tax cuts, I think this is overall a step in the right direction, even if it leads to a little bit more deficit.
How's that step in the right direction?
Because you're cutting spending as well.
Yes, but you're only cutting spending to pay for the tax cuts, and it's not even going to pay for all of the tax cuts.
Right.
Like it would be one thing if that cut in spending actually went towards attacking the deficit, but we're not attacking the deficit. We're cutting spending just for
the tax cuts themselves. Just to be clear, the vast majority of that is simply an extension of it's just an extension of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is what has been around since 2017.
By the way, recently Donald Trump also promised that he wouldn't cut Medicaid.
Yeah. He did.
Okay, maybe.
He did say that.
I'll look into it. But he also brought up like the no tax on tips and the no tax on overtime and Social Security stuff like that.
No tax on tips is good. It's probably not going to impact that many people, but it's like a minuscule portion of our total tax revenue.
Well, I'm just saying like those are the other things that Trump is like advocating for being like included.
Removing income tax and Social Security, removing
Social Security income tax as well. Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely like there's some ideas here, and so for me, somebody who wants to shrink the size of government and shrink how much they're taking from us, I think that tax cuts are a good thing. I agree that less spending is a good thing, and I agree that having a balanced budget is a good thing. Right now, I'm getting 2 out of my 3, right? And so, is it overall a good thing? It is. Would I like to see even more spending cuts? I would, but the problem is you can't get that many moderate Republicans on board with it, right? I mean, if you try to cut, because you would have to cut like Medicare or Medicaid or Social Security, you'd probably have to cut that a few trillion if you wanted to actually get this to be budget neutral in terms of like specifically the deficit. And there's no way you're going to get moderate Republicans on board with that.
Like I said, I knew you're not going to, like I said, his kind of talk of balancing the budget. Like I said, that's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, but he's not going to do that. But it would be something if he actually did decrease spending, but he's not decreasing spending.
He is decreasing spending
to pay for tax cuts, though. We're not cutting.
It doesn't matter. Overall spending is going to be cut.
Yes,
but by a significant degree, almost $2 trillion, which is a lot of fucking money
for tax cuts.
I don't think
which is a good thing. Tax cuts are a good thing. I would like to see more spending cuts to have even more tax cuts.
How would you solve the problem, Bam? I mean, you guys keep going back and forth. What would you like to see?
Well, like I said, I do believe that something needs to be done to the deficit. If I'm in Trump's shoes, if I'm speaking from someone who is I guess a deficit hawk, I would, like I said, I would own it. I would say that, okay, like we're not, like we don't have a future to be able to do these things without making significant changes. One, I would remove the cap on Social Security for how much people pay into it, so that people can be actually properly taxed for it, because we want to continue to fund that on into the future. I would, and in the between time, I probably wouldn't start with cuts towards Social Security. I'd most likely start with Yeah, I guess it would have to be Medicaid. I would have to make quick cuts towards Medicaid, some quick cuts towards Medicare. I don't think what Doge is doing is creating any significant revenue. But I would talk to I would actually try instead of becoming isolationist, I would actually be trying to extend our relationships, like trying to expand on our relationships with Mexico and Canada, because we do need to increase the revenue we take into the United States and not be it through tariffs. Tariffs isn't actually generating. I think the entire first administration's tariffing plan brought in 50 billion total, and I think almost all of that had to be paid out to farmers in subsidies because we crippled them through the Farmers Act. So yeah, I think you have to figure out how to actually increase revenue to the federal government, and you have to make hard, legitimate cuts and be honest with American people about it.
Right. I agree with that. You make hard, legitimate cuts, but the problem is, again, there's so many political interests at play that I think are going to make that almost impossible. You cannot get 51 Republicans on board with the kind of cuts that you need to make to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid in order to actually affect, in order to get really where we need to be in terms of a budget surplus. Because the deficit is a real big issue for sure. But another big issue is how much we're taxed, and another big issue is how much we spend. Am I getting everything that I want? Of course not. Am I getting some of what I want? Yeah. I think this budget is much better. Like having more spending cuts and tax cuts is much better than the alternative, which would be more spending. That would be horrible. And that's what I think a Kamala Harris presidency would have given us. That's what we saw with Biden.
We've done it. We've done it before. We've balanced the budget before, and it was
Bill Clinton, but that was because of the economy growing.
That was in part the economy growing, and in part he keep in mind that he ran in '92 on readjusting taxes, and he did. He raised the taxes. We were told by the Republican Party in '93 and '94, when all that stuff was being implemented, that the result of that would be an explosion of the national debt, and instead he raised taxes and balanced the budget at the same time.
Well, second thing we can do.
Yeah, I would live the tax and job.
So let's go back to first of all, what he did with welfare is different. What he did was he changed welfare. He changed welfare to where instead of cutting checks to people where they would just get cash, he would give them things like food stamps. He would give them things like medical care. He would give them
overall spending went down
goods that would help them.
He also fired 400,000 federal employees.
We've had the same number of federal employees for pretty much every point.
Here's what you do. That's the number one thing you do is you go back to the.
No, come on. That's disingenuous.
You go back to the. Had 3 million today.
You go back to the Clinton tax proposals. You go back to those, and then if also there are things that you can do to in order to rein in spending further. I think one of the things that it's kind of just left my head what it was that I was going to talk about. But if you went back to the Clinton taxes, even go back to the Reagan taxes, you would get a significant increase in federal income that would be able to pay for a lot of these programs.
You'd probably get some. The problem, we did luck out in the '90s when it came to our GDP growth. It was due to a variety of factors, including the explosion of the use of computers and the internet, but also the collapse of the Soviet Union and the opening of those markets into the global sphere. So there was a lot of reasons why we were able to sort of weather the storm. But empirically speaking, taxes do lower GDP growth. It seems like there's this weird world that we're living in now where both sides are just have this cognitive dissonance where you have the left say things like tariffs are bad because they're taxes. But then they'll support, but I like taxes, even though.
Well, no, tariffs are bad because they're regressive taxes, right? They're taxes on consumers.
Both tariffs.
People in the middle class who pay that, as opposed to people
even
in the upper class.
I'm not talking about when you look at effect on GDP. Income taxes do all the same economists.
You want to put a tariff on
all the same economists that are saying this, but tariffs also say this.
Fine with that.
Yeah, but it's not. But sure. But the income
that's not
taxes.
regressive.
The income taxes aren't just on yachts. I know there's arguments for specific luxury taxes. I guess that's a different discussion we can have. But the people who are advocating for increased income taxes are saying things like tariffs are bad for the economy and lower GDP, which they do. And then you have people in favor of tariffs who are also opposed to taxation.
Even income taxes can be more
double
regressive
standard, I
than
think.
other options. Like a wealth tax would be the least regressive tax. but
Why
income
is
tax
it
will be
that
the
every
next
other
one.
nation manages to have taxes or tariffs, pardon me, on goods that we send there, which hurts our country, but we
it
decide
hurts them.
not to put
Doesn't hurt
tariffs
our
on
country.
Yeah, it
goods that
hurts
come
them.
here?
It hurts them.
It hurts them.
Doesn't hurt
That's
our
the
country.
problem. They're making mistakes that we're now replicating. Now we want to make the same mistakes that they're making, right?
How does
Because
it
they're
hurt
consumers because it makes things more expensive in their country.
Just like taxes.
If
do.
you think inflation's bad, if you
Okay,
think
all right.
high
Let me.
prices is
Okay,
bad,
okay. Oh, no. I'll accept that premise. I want to give you an example. In the early '80s, Japan did not want to import American cars, so they put a very high tariff
Mhm.
on any American car. I think it was like 40 or 50%. So GM, nobody imported cars into Japan. In order for their economy to grow, however, they needed to export a large number of vehicles to the U.S.
which
They did that
which
by
was a
making
terrible.
deals with our government
Have you looked at
where
their
they
GDP over
had
the last
no
30 years?
tariffs on their products
Japan's not
coming
a good place.
into our country. So it did not hurt them.
Oh,
It
do
hurt
you want to go
us.
through the same experience that Japan had for the last 30 years? Do you want our GDP to be
I'm
basically
giving you a
GDP growth
specific
being zero?
example of where a tariff
Right.
did exactly what it was supposed
Yeah.
to do.
No, it did the
No.
opposite of what it was supposed to do. It stunted Japan's growth for 30 years. They stopped growing in the 90s, and they haven't
Because
come
they
back
didn't get
to it.
American cars?
For a variety of reasons. But yeah, their tariff policy, the fact that they weren't embracing free trade is a big part of it. Yeah, 100%.
So
and also the lack of immigration. That was another big part.
I'm a bit more.
I'm sorry.
I'm a bit more. Well, two things. One, Lactoid. I put in the chat a link to the New York Times talking about when Trump during an interview. I think it was with Vance there, talking about where Medicaid and Medicare won't be touched. So you can take a look at that link. Beyond that, to Grid, I'm more sympathetic to you. Right, and after that, we'll go to Bam. I'm more sympathetic to what you're saying. And
Why is this archived? It's from 2025.
But so we can get past the paywall. That's why I do the
Oh,
archive links.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's for your benefit, buddy. I'm looking out for you. But anyway, to Grid. This is I'm more I'm sympathetic, yes, sympathetic to your argument about tariffs being used for protection, right? Basically, you're saying, hey, we want to encourage our citizens to buy our goods, right, from our country to stimulate our economy, right? That's basically what you're trying to get at there. And you're pointing to a situation, and we can look at Japan, but we can look at others. I think Germany does something similar.
Germany
South
did the
Korea.
exact same thing.
Exactly,
Canada,
right?
Canada has a 40%
And Germany is
tax.
stagnant.
But hold on. But I'm gonna give it
But
all.
they weren't
to,
back in the 80s when I went.
Great. I'm gonna give your points to you, right? Like yes.
Go ahead.
You can do that. You can use tariffs like a scalpel to specifically change consumers' behaviors, right, and make it so that they will buy from your domestic companies and encourages domestic companies to build in your country. So
That's
I
why
agree with
Harley
you there.
exists.
But that's not why what Trump is doing. Trump is doing
sure?
mass tariffs across the
Okay.
board, and then that's not the same, right? And then that does not
Are
give
you
people.
sure?
Yes, absolutely. He's doing. He's
Okay.
made
Because
some,
what I
he
heard,
made
so
some
what I- so
exceptions at the end. Sorry,
Did you hear what he said during his speech where he talked about? And I'm picking on cars a little bit because
He made an exception for cars later on. Yeah.
Everybody's bought a car, right? So it's just an
Yeah.
easy target. So there, he's saying that there'll be no tax on American-built cars, but cars built outside of the country and imported in, there will be.
Yeah.
So when I go buy a $70,000 truck, I'm going to buy a $70,000 US made truck, so I don't have to pay tax
But hold
on it,
on.
and not
Friend. Great.
Japanese.
You
truck.
understand like the logistics of like creating a car, a modern day car, right? That we globalized our supply structure, and because of deals like NAFTA and the
I
USMC,
understand
right?
that.
You know what I'm saying? That we have
I'm well aware.
that we have factories on both sides of the border, the northern border and the southern border, right? And car parts go back and forth across there. Most cars, I'm not sure if there's any U.S. brand that doesn't have parts of that car that are from outside. So that's going to so across the board.
It was if the alternator's made in Bangladesh, I don't think that that's the problem. What you're talking about is
but a lot of our car parts are
Ford
made in
Ford
United
cars
States.
aren't built in America. They still build them in Mexico. But say, if anything, the where the company's like origin doesn't matter. Like we're making Hondas. There's a Honda plant like 30 miles from me. Like there's
a
Hondas
Nissan
made
plant that's been here forever because of the tariffs that we.
But that doesn't make a difference because even if that plant they like do final assembly, right? The fact that parts of the car came from across the border, and they might have crossed the border multiple times. That happens of pieces, right? They go across the border multiple times. That's tariff each and every one time, right? So that massively raises the price. Now, because Trump,
are you sure?
Yes, I'm absolutely positive on this.
The people in the car industry manufacturers are discussing this issue.
Yeah, but there is something that there's an update on this, right? So Trump, I think this was earlier last week, said that he was going to make an exception for cars, at least either just cars or maybe goods in general that follow the U.S. MCA, right? The United States, Mexico, Canada deal. That like if you were been following that deal, then there'll be an exception there for that. But like that, all of this, the whole process has not been a thought out, planned like use of tariffs in a scalpel like fashion, right? There's been a bulldozer, and it's caused massive business uncertainty across the board.
I've heard all of this for the past 2 weeks, but what it really means to me, honestly, and what I hope that it eventually means to most people that live in America and not Canada or somewhere else, is that it brings the jobs that were originally here back to here. I don't see why we need to export jobs to Mexico anymore. I just don't. And that's and maybe you're okay with that. Maybe it's fine.
I'm less okay with it than you think I am.
Car parts cross the border 20 times before they end up being assembled into a car in Ohio somewhere. Okay, maybe that's cool with you, but I would rather it be just here.
There's 4 reasons.
I would rather pay Americans to do it. I would rather my dollars stay in America. I'm okay, and maybe you don't. Maybe in your opinion, it's great to send our product manufacturing overseas. It's great to continue.
I do a quick response. I'm going to straight to Bam. I promise. Quick grid. Sorry. Like it actually. So ironically, it works out for my political benefit that cars get more expensive, right? But not for the reasons that you might think. The reasons why I would like cars to be more expensive because I want people to drive less. I think that we need to move away from our car culture, right? So if they get more expensive, that's fine. So like going on what you said, if
there's
the
no
cars
guarantee that they will get more expensive.
So yeah, I know. But like, the point is to bring that manufacturing into the States, which one way or the other, right? Both ways, either through the tariffs or bringing all the manufacturing home would increase the price of the cars from what they are now. So either way, if that does happen,
why does
because obviously because the price of creating a car, of building it here is going to be more expensive than the
guy punching a button here that makes the robot operate is the same.
It's not just a robot. Okay, that was a dumbass thing that was just said by one of Trump's secretaries that like we're just going to have robot jobs here, right? And robots
have you visited them? Have you visited Automotive?
I know exactly what car manufacturing looks like. I get that that a lot of it is mechanized, but not all of it is mechanized.
You think those jobs over there just for fun?
Yeah,
because they thought they just like let's put it over here.
There are plenty of.
I think Ford moved to Mexico because there was some massive incentives.
So hold on, you're saying but then you were making statements. Hey, maybe you like it if our money goes across the borders. No, actually, I would love the money to stay here, right? And in fact, it would benefit my political goals if we can make cars more expensive, make the whole process of driving more expensive, and then switch to better alternatives like massive expanding public transportation. So I'm fine with that. So just to be clear, right? So there's an answer to that. Bam, Corey.
Yeah.
Also had my
So
hand up
there's.
earlier as well.
Oh, Corey
okay,
hadn't been in
sorry.
a while.
All right.
Is this related to this, or do you just want?
Yeah. Go for it, Bam.
Okay, this is related to this, and then we can move on from it. There's four reasons. There's four major negative externalities. Number one, the most obvious, is the price of labor. The reason they don't want to use in the United States, like when you have to pay United States labor to build these vehicles, the cost of these the goods in turn are going to have to increase based off of that. Number two is these things can't be done overnight. You're talking about multi-billion-dollar like factory initial setups. That, like, Trump gave a 1-month exclusion for the big three auto manufacturers. I don't know what he thinks a month is going to do to change to where they can move all of manufacturing back to the United States. That's a multi-year job, probably 10 billion plus
Agree with that.
for the things that their business plans that they've already built out for years aren't prepared to do. Number three, you're going to have you're going to have less economic impact on your biggest allies, our closest neighbors. It actually benefits the United States to be on good terms with Mexico and Canada, as well as the rest of the global market. And number four, actually, I guess there's five things. Number four, the United States unemployment rate is already pretty low, and I think there's like over 500,000 open manufacturing jobs right now. The United States economy is just moving away from a manufacturing economy to where a service economy. People don't like doing these jobs. People don't want to do these jobs.
All right, cool. All right. So first of all, if what you say is true, I'm not going to go line by line. If what you say is true, why is it that every single auto manufacturer has factories in the United States? VW, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Honda, Toyota, Acura. Well, Acura is Honda. Ford, Chevy, everybody. Mercedes-Benz has a factory right down the road from me in Alabama. Nissan's right down the street from me. VW's in North Carolina or South Carolina.
Yes,
BMW's in South Carolina. Why, if what you're saying is true, which I don't believe it is, I don't believe that ChatGPT can back that shit up. But I know for a fucking fact that those factories exist here right now.
Trust the ChatGPT boys.
So if what you say is true, why do those factories exist?
All in the United States.
Why do those factories exist if what you say is true?
Yes, I'm trying to answer that.
Okay.
Just because they want to have, just because they put one of their factories in a location in the United States doesn't mean that this is where the vast majority of their inventory is being built. The factories that do exist are receiving ridiculous tax incentives to be there to make them affordable to be. They couldn't exist to compete.
There's another reason. There's another reason they're there. And this is
we have to go to Corey. Corey's been waiting.
That's fine, but I just want to. It's only one sentence. The one reason they're there is because there's different standards. Like the Ford Fiesta, for example, can't be produced in the United States, so it's produced in like Europe. Versus here, they would produce the American version. Yeah, like
Jesus.
Let's go to Corey.
Pretty good.
So I guess on this same topic, and like on cars, so Grid 1, you brought up the examples of Germany and Japan. Like, in your opinion, do you think that the current state of the German economy, Japan economy is great?
No, I said back. Were you not listening?
No, I was. I was
very carefully. I was very specific.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to expand on that and long term and your lack of long term thinking. Okay. So, and why do you think there's the whole lost decade?
Actually, I mean,
wait. Let me finish my point. I will relate it.
I will stick with just the automotive manufacturing.
Okay, yeah.
So
let's
actually
go with automotive.
Go ahead.
So, also based off your estimation, do you think the German automaker industry is in good shape as well?
Do I think the German auto manufacturers?
I don't think we know what that is. The average American doesn't keep up with other countries.
Well, you should take a look. So, what do you think?
Well, hold on. I asked you. I want to clarify the question. Do I think the German auto manufacturing is in good shape? No. Germany has run their manufacturing into the ground with labor unions and exceedingly punitive measures. Absolutely. Actually, when they produced a Porsche Boxster, they actually moved production out of the country to Holland or Finland or somewhere really cold like that, just to get away from the labor unions. So no, I don't. But that none of that has anything to do with tariffs, Corey.
Well, no, I'm going to get to it. I've only said I've only asked like one question or two questions so far. Okay.
Okay.
So, I'm also want to clarify in terms of what you want, as in, do all you care about is American jobs, or do you have a vested interest in having America as the #1 economy, or like you don't actually care whether America is number one?
Why are those two things mutually exclusive, Corey?
I'm just if there was a preference, okay, I'm going
I don't
to
have
try.
a preference. Both of those things are not mutually exclusive.
I agree in principle they're not, but the point
Okay,
that I
good.
will make.
Wait a minute, mutually exclusive. That doesn't answer his question. It's just saying, what do you prioritize more?
Yes.
What do I prioritize more?
Yeah, even if they both can exist, which one is a bigger priority?
Which one's more important to you?
More important to me? Probably jobs in America. I think Americans need to have better lives.
Okay, sure. Then I have less issues with your position because, like, what I would say, okay, is like if you want to bring back car manufacturing, if you want to bring back, table manufacturing and sneaker manufacturing in the United States,
we don't need to.
If you think you can compete with China,
well, you literally want to.
There's a reason. There's a reason why the German auto industry is like tanking, because they can't compete with China. There's a reason why Japan automaking industry is tanking, because it can't compete with China. I think Nissan is like on the verge of bankruptcy.
Which Chinese made cars or manufactured cars are sold here, Corey?
There's a ban, from what I understand.
Well, no, there's not technically a ban, but are there? They don't meet our crash certifications.
There's probably that aspect too.
That doesn't answer my question. Which ones?
Hey, if there's a ban,
there's zero.
That's not a good question.
I don't think you could. You're really allowed either through regulations or an actual explicit ban.
Okay.
But you can't. Do you think there's no Chinese cars outside of China?
Well, I've been to China.
Okay,
I've actually looked into their car market. It's very interesting. They have a car there that they make there called a Cherry QQ, which is basically an exact replica of like some Chevy Sonic from Europe or some crap like that. I don't know. It's a really tiny little car. Almost every auto manufacturer had to set up in China because China has a law that says that you cannot import used cars. Period. As a matter of fact, all cars had to be new. And China is so tough with their auto industry that currently, and when I was in Beijing, one of the big things is that the traffic was so bad that if you had odd numbered license plates, you could drive Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If even numbers, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And I guess you could all drive on Sunday if you really wanted to. But it was, and people were actually buying a second car because the license plates are permanently affixed to the car, assigned to each car. So people would buy a second car to have an even and an odd license plate. So that's a very interesting thing for China, but it has nothing to do with them making cars that are ever going to be sold.
I remember doing that here too in the 80s.
Oh, and also,
do you really? I didn't. I
want
didn't
to
drive
amend
back then, so
my statement. I'm not sure if there's a ban. I believe there's like 100% tariff, or I think Biden implemented 100% tariff on EV cars specifically made out of China. Okay, so
Are you talking about EV cars?
I believe, and maybe just cars out of China in general. But I believe there's a reason why there's no Chinese cars, and I don't think it's a free market.
In theory,
well, it's not true that there's no Chinese cars. There are no Chinese branded cars.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah, okay, sure. In terms of like certain. You can get around manufacturing to a certain extent, but like you don't have Chinese branded cars like whatever the BYD is like the large EV manufacturer. So I'm just curious, okay, on a global scale, do you think United States car manufacturing can compete with Chinese car manufacturing?
Absolutely.
Okay, I would say you were wrong 100%. In history.
As a matter of fact, I think that China has probably copied enough of American manufacturing to just about be even. In theory, I've heard this. I haven't been there. I need to go and look around and see what's available. Apparently, they've got some really, really high tech, like advanced EV cars and some like really badass stuff going on over there that obviously they really can't export to anywhere, or they won't allow to export to anywhere because it's a very restrictive environment.
Company now.
I'm sorry.
Apparently, Volvo's owned by a Chinese company now. I just looked up what
it's been. It's been. They owned Humvee as well for a while. But I think they sold that back to GM, though.
I don't know. But there's
a lot of cars that are made in China that do sell here. They're just not branded as Chinese cars. Volvo S90 is one of them.
I think that I think the point of having all of this conversation is just around the idea of like with American manufacturing, with American unemployment already being so low, the idea of like we're trying to bring base level manufacturing.
You literally just said that people didn't want to work anything but part-time jobs, but if
No,
they
I
could
didn't
get
say.
but they should get a full-time job, or if they could get a full-time job, it would be better. So if
It's not that
such
they
full-time
want
jobs
to.
existed, would that not be a better situation?
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't say that people didn't want to work full time jobs. I said
So
that
they can't
companies
find.
didn't.
Yeah.
I'm
so they're
sorry,
not
Gibbs. Is
hiring.
that not what he said? Am I dreaming?
That is, he said they're not hiring full-time jobs.
Right,
They're
right.
not hiring full-time workers. Sorry.
Companies don't want to hire full time work because they don't want to have to pay out benefits. That was my.
Well, so yeah, the regulations for sure. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the regulations
I mean-
like you need to pay your people.
Yeah, but hold on.
Point is, it's not the workers.
Hold on.
It's not the workers.
Hold on. Yeah,
Everyone
it's not
had
the
3
workers.
jobs up until inauguration day. Okay.
Oh, hold on. First of all, I take umbrance with this concept, right? I hire people all the time. Hold on. I have not spoken in about an hour. Calm down there.
Neither have I. Whoa, shit. Neither have I. If we're gonna compete.
Okay, all right, cool. So here's the thing. All right, I take umbrance with this concept that Bam keeps bringing up, and I even brought this up with my hiring practices and how I manage people versus what Grid does, which I don't know what his structure is. It sounds totally different than mine, and probably for a good reason, right? So sure, when I look at this. There is reason why a company would like to hire somebody full time, put them at benefits. You put them a salary, you get benefits. It's much better for retainment. Now, where we're getting fucked, and this is something thankfully I don't have to deal with because I'm in Texas, where it's a right to work state, right? Is unions. Unions are single handedly fucking the workers because they make people agree to these union deal concepts, and then guess what? These individual business owners can't sit here and do what's best for the workers because we got to have a union bargaining thing. And then what happens is these unions all end up being corrupt, every single one of them. They're always ridden with organized crime. And I tell you what, you find me five unions and that aren't corrupt, and I'll fucking give somebody a free slap because they're all corrupt, every single fucking one of them. And if they're not, they're communist fucking puppet pieces. It's terrible. So they've gotten all the regulations and they got this collective bargaining agreements, and it actually fucks workers because it doesn't look out for them at all. Maybe the original concept for unions was good, but that is the single-handedly biggest reason why American workers are getting fucked. It's not because American business owners don't want to pay them benefits. It's because there's over-regulation that fucks people, or you have the unions doing collective bargaining. That's your problem.
I won't say that every union in the United States is perfect. I won't make that argument at all. But if you look at pay discrepancies, between unionized workers versus non-unionized, it's not even close. Unions.
But look at the states that have that, right? So here's the other thing you're factoring, right? So I pay, we brought up my leather company, right? And I pay them $40K. Well, standard living in Texas is a lot lower. $40K is pretty good, in Texas. That's nothing though. If I was in California, these people would be fucked. They'd be living outside in a box. So it's all relative.
I came against your specific business practices. Like I said, I'm just saying buying.
No, but what I'm saying is the argument though is when you look at pay, I'm in a right to work state. These people aren't unionized. Could they unionize? Sure, I guess I don't fucking know. But they're not getting. They're paid $40K. That's about average or on par with whatever moderate pay. But then if I was looking at California where they are heavily unionized, or look at Detroit where they are heavily unionized, yeah, the pay might be higher, but nobody's working. Everybody's fucked.
True.
So how are you going to?
Whoa!
I don't understand
What
why
do you mean
blaming
no
unions
one's
for that.
working? What do you mean if the pay is high?
I can explain.
Why is no one working?
Yeah, go ahead, Grid. Go ahead.
I'm from Detroit.
one-
I speak to Detroit specifically.
Well, Detroit's a living shit.
You brought up Detroit. There's people working.
Who's
The
gonna go?
factories are full.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I have one of the companies has one union job, and it is not only union, but it's a secured facility. So every person that goes over there has to have a valid background check, and they have to be part of the union. It's impossible to hire a union guy in this specific field. So we once a month we have to send a guy down to Atlanta. He gets trained for 2 days, and he comes back, and it's like this long ass apprenticeship to be part of the union. Now I have to pay that. I could have hired 3 guys to put on this job, but because I have to do all this union crap, I have 1 guy. And when he quits, I will probably give up that contract and let somebody else deal with it.
Yeah, it's not that people don't want to work. It's that you don't want to go through the paperwork to hire people under regulation. That's not people don't want to work.
Well, I have 14 other employees
why would I
that
want
work
to do
every
that?
day.
Yeah.
I mean,
why
whether or
would I-
not you
why
whether
is
or not
this- why
you
is
want
this
to,
one
whether or
special
not you
scope?
want to, is like kind
Yeah,
of
union.
like,
I wouldn't say
that's
unions are in the
separate to
interest
the
of like
point.
ownership.
Your point was
they counter ownership. That's the
Your
not
yeah.
point
in the
was
interest
because
of
of
the
these
employee.
unions, people don't want to work. You said, Gibbs, look at all these people, all the prices are high, people don't want to work. That's not true. It's the fact that it's hard to get hired because there are regulations on the business owner, regulations that are supposed to be
No,
looking
I
out for the
can't
worker
find
because
any
and why do
otherwise,
business?
put up with
Hold on.
the
If
union
it's just that they're too
requirement.
lazy, if it's just that they're too lazy, Ollie, then why is it that
I don't
businesses
think it's that they're too
flee?
lazy. I don't think it's that they're
So it's
too
not
lazy.
too lazy.
Dude, I
Okay.
ran an ad
So then
for
why do
3
the
weeks
businesses
before I
flee
got
these
1
regulated
guy.
areas? And why in those areas where they are
They don't have to
regulated
pay them
are there
to live
Hey,
there.
brother,
standard
do
living
you,
what's
do you know how?
like
Do you know how
work?
many applications I filled out this month? I filled out like 300 applications. There's a bunch of
What
there's
what
there's a
business you in?
Me, I mean, whatever business is available. I do massage therapy, I do retail, I do sales, whatever's available. But the fact of the matter is, there's a bunch of job openings. There's a bunch of ghost applications. It kind of fucking sucks for people as well. It's just that like everyone's kind of putting the onus on the workers. Like Gibbs literally just said in Detroit, the wages are high, but no one wants to work. And then like you came in
It's not
and
that
like
they don't want to
to your
work.
point,
That's not what I said.
No, you said the wages are high and no one wants to work.
It's not that they don't want to work. It's that there's no okay.
You're
You
not able to
have
get
a
hired,
certain
which
group
was
of
Bam's
You're not going to
point.
get hired because
And
you
then
have a
Grid,
certain group of people
and then Grid
that have
only
fucked everybody else
reinforced.
out.
I know, and then Grid kind of only reinforced Bam's point, which is like to like his point. Like as a business owner, there's a bunch of hoops that you have to go through in order to find decent workers.
Employee doesn't want to
So,
do it.
so
either.
sociologic. If you went to Detroit and wanted to work for a car dealership, not car dealership, like a car manufacturer, all right? Let's just go with that scenario.
Listen,
And you
the
didn't want to be
regulations are
part of
fucking me as a worker too. I get it.
Right.
All this licensing is
But
bullshit for these
hold on,
menial
hear me out,
jobs.
hear me
I'm
out,
with you
hear me out
guys.
there. No, hear me out there. Say you wanted to go and be work, right? And you didn't want to be part of the union. What would the union people do in that area if they tried to hire you?
If I didn't want to be a
What
part
about
of the
people in
union
that
and I want to
area?
work, no, they probably wouldn't. Like they'd make your job.
They
probably
try to
difficult.
force you out. They would
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to make it difficult. They'd call you a
Yeah.
scat, correct? Yeah. So
Sure.
you can't tell me that unions are pro-worker when they're fighting individuals wanting to work. They're
They're
organized
pro-union.
crime.
So here's the thing.
They're
So
pro-members.
Grid, once again, I'm like, I'm with you because as like someone who's trying to work, when you try to get some of these jobs that require X certification for the most menial job ever, right? Like my license from Michigan, I got it 10 years ago, my massage therapy license. Now that there's an MBLEX certification test, my license is no longer national. I have to get research.
Right.
It's a whole fucking bullshit, right? But I think the issue
I
is
couldn't when I went to hire somebody. Sociologic.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that the guy that I hired does not want to do the union stuff.
I feel you. I understand.
The only reason that he does it is I pay him a little bit of extra money, and if he actually finishes, and I'm paying for his apprenticeship program, so eventually he'll have a union card, and he can maybe one day, if I close down or I get tired of looking at his face, he can go work somewhere else. That's the only reason he's putting
but
up
they
with
want
this
the
crap.
protections that come with it. Yeah,
Is that not good? Is that not a benefit to the
Right,
worker?
but all of my other
Yeah.
employees at that business that have been there for years,
Mhm.
before I bought it,
Yeah.
every one of them are happy. And I went out the day we got the contract. Went out and said, "Hey, I need 2 guys to go down and become union certified." And we hired a union
They
guy.
trust you. They're
we had to
loyal.
we
They
can't
trust
just
you.
They
have
have
They're
no
loyal.
apprentice.
protections.
Gotta
You could
be-
end them tomorrow.
Yeah, they trust you.
Yeah.
They're
None of them
loyal.
would
Their
go
only
do it.
protection is you. Their protection is the fact that they have faith in you. They have faith in the company that they've worked for. They're loyal to that company. They have trust within that company. But to your point, you just said the other guy who has to go through the regulations in order for you to hire him, I think is the point. The other guy, if you do shut down, if you do get tired of looking at his face, he has certain protections that the other people now don't. Now, I'm not, once again, you may be a good business owner. You may have good business practices. Your people may love working for you. But that isn't like indicative of like every workplace in America, right? And so that's why there are these regulations. They may
I
fuck
get that,
over
but-
you.
So
They may fuck you over, but in the greater scheme of things, it's like in mass, businesses tend to fuck over their workers, which is why these regulations exist.
so quick
And you as a
response-
business owner, as a business owner, you have to deal with these regulations, but you also stand to make the most money.
So you can
Sorry.
make a grid, make a quick response, and then hold on. I want to let Aiko in because he's trying to get in. And then we'll move on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say quickly that there's another equivalent to this. So yeah,
It's Grid's
workers
response.
workers have those kinds of rights too, but employers will do the same thing, right? They'll make you sign a non-compete, and if you work for them for a few years and then you want to leave and you want to go somewhere else in that same industry, those employers will stop. I'm under a non-compete myself. Like, so if I start coaching for another company that does something similar to what we could do, I'm not allowed to do that, right? Because of the contract that I signed. So I don't think it's unique that workers seek these kinds of protections. Employers do it too. And even if employers didn't have non-competes in particular, they also have in many industries something close to a monopoly in particular areas where you wouldn't be able to leave there anyway because the skills that you have like wouldn't be transferable to any other company because we haven't busted up monopolies and oligopolies in like a century. And until we do, that's going to give employers like tremendous advantages. I am also very skeptical of unions for a variety of reasons, especially in the field of education, which is where I work. It's very difficult to fire a bad teacher, and I hate that. It's very difficult to reward a good teacher by paying them more than somebody who doesn't get the same results. I hate that. But I think if one of the reasons why people feel like they need like labor protections is because of things like non-competes and because of oligopolies that stop you from being able to transfer your skills. If you take care of one of those issues, I'll be a lot more skeptical of the other one.
Well, I can't speak for every boss, ICAO, but ICO,
Right.
how do you say that?
You can call me Rich. It's fine.
Okay, Rich. All right, cool. So I can't speak for every employer out there, but I do make my employees sign NDAs and non-competes. But anyone that leaves me on good terms, I generically let them out of the non-compete. They can go work for anybody else. They can set up their own shop. I don't care. The NDA, because they have they have access to client list. They know who my customers are. They know,
trade
the
secrets
NDA,
are a different thing.
Generally,
I understand when it comes to that.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, I don't generally let
but
people
to say
out
that
of
you
NDAs,
can't work
but-
at all is like, I understand that you're going to let them out of that because like you're a good person individually, but we're not talking about like who's a good person
Sure.
individually. We're talking about systems, right? And if we have a system that stops people from being able to apply their trade in a way that's competitive,
And I am
right?
speaking
Like,
of a trade. This is a trade. This is
wait. Hold on. I got to push back on this. Hold on, we got to push back on that, right? So Grid is saying that he has his workers sign these non-competes, but usually he lets them out if they leave on good terms, right? But fuck that. Why should they have to have left on good terms, right? What if, right? Like I'm working under Grid, right? Doing whatever the fuck, right? Making his widgets for him, right? And then because Grid's being an asshole one day, I told him to go fuck himself, right? I'm not going to take it anymore. And then I leave, and then he hits me with this non-compete when I try to either open up my own shop or anything like that. It shouldn't be up to our personal interactions. It shouldn't be up to you being a good person or not. And I'm not saying that you're a bad person. I'll be very clear. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on your personality or anything like that. But like the very fact that it simply is your choice, right? Where you can limit a person's economic opportunities like that. That's the problem. That seems also non-worker
What do you do with trade secrets,
anti-worker. Sorry.
So, like, I agree with most of that. What do you do in trade secret situations, Prime? What's your client list?
Yeah, okay, then we could talk. Yeah, like I said, we could talk about trade secrets, right? Maybe we could say like an NDA, right? Yeah, like a client list or something that you can't maybe touch the client list. There's ways to work around that, certainly, right? But
that's why I don't really care about the non-compete because I've had people get hired away by other people. I don't really care about the non-compete. The only reason I even have someone sign the non-compete anymore is just because I don't want somebody coming in working 2 months and then going out and setting up their own shop. And honestly, it's as much. I don't want to see people open up a shop and fail like fucking miserably. I've seen it. I've watched it happen over and over.
That's fine, and I can agree that would be unfair to you. Like if someone had come in for a short amount of time and then like
learned how you do
trade
things
secrets,
and then,
and there might be. I think there's limited nuanced ways that we could actually deal with that. But in general, these non-competes, we don't want that. No, fuck that. It shouldn't be up
Well, then
to the
don't take the
kindness.
job.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Hold on. All right, then don't, and if you don't want to follow regulations, then don't hire, don't build the business, or don't do anything, right? Like, we can just play that game back and forth.
I do
So,
follow the regulation. That's
okay,
the point.
great. Then there's no need to complain about it, right? Either just do the follow the regulations or don't, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you're
then
making the
there's
money,
no reason to
right?
complain. Yeah, so
Making the money
like,
with the regulations. That's the whole point.
Biden did a good thing, right? It's surprising. Well, not really. It wasn't him. It was like Lena Khan, I believe, right? But he got rid of those non-competes, right? And Lactoid was here, I think, and I'm sure Corey was here as well. And we had that conversation. We had a topic on these non-competes. That was banned for most occupations, right? Like, we have non-competes literally for being a fast food worker. Right, so you can't, like, if you're a fast food worker in one place, you
Massage
can't
therapy. There's NDAs.
go across. You work at McDonald's, you can't go across to work at Burger King, right? And
there's not competes for massage therapy.
There's not competes there. It's nonsense, right? And it shouldn't be up to anyone. There's not competes for fucking nail techs, right? I heard a story about that, about nail techs not being able to do that. So it should not be up to the boss.
Hold on.
Right?
Here's the reason why some of those are okay. I think with the food, I'm just gonna guess, like, right. I think it's not so much the line people, but it's
The flip
included in
burgers?
there because it's because those people are included. But I think it's for higher ups. I think it's probably standard business practice to include it. They don't.
And it
force-
shouldn't
Now,
be the case.
When you bring up the nail tech, though, I think this is one that's important because there was a reason why some companies do. It says I don't have any non-competes because you're not going to outsell my people. Fuck you. But whenever we go over to see like some of these companies, like I'll use K Jewelers, right? They're owned by Signet, so that's Jared K Zales. They would have non-competes. And the reason would be, it's not that they would have access to the client list, it's that you had built your clients while there. So your clients would go there expecting to see you. And if you're over at a new place, you're just going to text all your clients, I'm at, like Helsenberg's now, right? And so that is kind of an issue because, yes, they are your clients. However, you did develop them using like their resources, their like place. And I think there is something to be said for the validity of, hey, I don't like the idea you could just take like all your clients over another company.
I already addressed that. I said that as well. We have two things. One, thank you for Sean for gifting that membership on YouTube. Thanks so much. And a super chat that came in only 12 minutes ago. Okay. All right. Thank you, Sir. Sir Bibbles, Sir Bobbles, maybe. He said to Gibbs, right? Can you name one regulation that is actively, all caps, actively making your life suffer that needs to be removed?
Actively. Let's see. In my day-to-day life.
You're a business owner. You bitch about it all day, no?
Yeah, I'm trying to think like something specific. I mean, zoning, like it depends. Like probably zoning laws would be the biggest one. The big like is like where I can't build certain like cattle things. Like I can't build chutes in certain areas on my land based off the zoning laws. That's pretty annoying. That's pretty local. I'm trying to think of like a national one. That like I
You can't graze your cattle in certain places, right? Like
well, that would be state. That'd be state issues.
I thought there were federal lands that you weren't. Or actually, maybe you are allowed to do it.
It's not a problem.
Lands. Okay,
yeah,
whatever.
It's not a problem I would have though, because all my land is all my cattle on my land. I mean, yeah, yeah, okay, I can. Okay, some of the regulations about what leather I can import are pretty terrible, right? Like, you can't import leather from certain countries due to there might be conflicts in that country, right? That's pretty terrible. Even because they're like, oh, we can't guarantee it's not produced like with unethically. Even if I have like direct connections with like say the guy, and it's like, oh, there's shared land. So say like an elephant dies, right? They harvest the elephant skin from the graveyards, and part of the graveyards in one country and part of the graveyards not. And like they wouldn't be able to harvest anywhere from this graveyard if it was in that like partially in another country because like whatever. And that drives prices pretty high. That would be like the biggest one I could think of. Is like the conflict laws like in regards to that I deal with on a regular basis. But
I can think of one off the top of my head. There's regulations in place by the medical community to limit the number of doctors we can have in the United States at any one time. Like, so the reason we have a doctor shortage is like, I wouldn't say completely manufactured, but heavily manufactured. Is just because the doctors that do exist want to keep the medical profession as kind of like an elite boys club.
Really, I didn't know that.
They're only the fewest people. Yeah, like if you talk to people who went through medical school, no matter where you go, they're almost always one of the first things they hit during their first year. It turns like Hunger Games. One of the first things like professors will tell you is like, oh, okay, only half of you are going to pass this class. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what your grade is. Like we're cutting half here. Like we're chopping you down. We're shrinking you down. And there's regulations in place to towards like how many people can get white coats.
Lactoate, if he was, I'm not sure if he's still paying attention, but Lactoate has talked about that quite a bit. And in terms of, I think maybe your own profession, but like in terms of like the bar association or whatever. But yeah, you have thoughts on that. Do you want to expand on
that? So my profession is one of the few, I don't know of any other examples, that doesn't allow non-competes. It's just straight up banned. And that has to do with basically they frame it in terms of, for the client as opposed to anything else. It's not necessarily for the attorney. It's the idea of when a lawyer leaves a firm, the client just has the decision to go with the attorney or not. And they don't want a circumstance in which the attorney can't practice and then can't service the client when the client wants that particular attorney to be their attorney on the case, is basically the justification. And as a result, there's non-competes are difficult because they do appear to have good economic effects, right? They just limit the ability to contract in some regards.
What are the good economic effects of a non-compete?
For the business owner.
Sorry, of not having a non-compete. I apologize.
Not having
of banning them. Yeah.
Okay.
But the problem has to do with limiting people's right to contract. But it does, there's been arguments on both sides. One side is arguing, well, it's going to encourage people to be more willing to hire people who potentially could be an issue later on down the road. That's probably true to some extent. But at least the empirical evidence that the FTC is citing indicates that banning non-competes would have some beneficial effects in the economy.
I think it's going to vary
I keep hearing a crinkling sound. If whoever is doing a crinkling sound, if he could mute. I don't know what it is. It's like near your mic. It just
is it my mic?
No, I don't think it's yours. But just so yeah.
I think last two things. I think it would vary industry by industry. Like I could imagine if I worked somewhere in like the Silicon Valley tech field, I can understand the importance of non-competes, especially if you work in an R&D department, where someone can't figure out like, oh, this is what the next iPhone's features are, and then 3 months later quit and basically sell that information to the largest bidder. But outside of that, something else I thought about this earlier when we were talking about ways to actually improve our government. We most likely should have let the tax cuts and Jobs Act fall off. Honestly, I think we probably should. Everyone, as crazy as it sounds, everyone could probably benefit from an increase in taxes, especially the bottom 50% of Americans. I think somewhere it was posted that if you increased the tax revenue, the old tax revenue on the bottom 50% by 2%, which equals out to be somewhere on around $800 or something per year. It would in turn generate, I think, over 120 or 130 billion dollars per year and over $1 trillion over a decade. For very little increase in basically what people pay in, we can have significant benefits in the amount of tax revenue we actually bring in. The government right now currently isn't bringing in enough money. regardless of whatever growth you want to talk about. I think that that's something we have to do. And yes, it should be with billionaires, but it shouldn't just be with billionaires.
Sorry, hold on.
I wanna-
Pause. But we did. There's lots of things I got to do. One, like to it before the thing that I want to you to comment on is like the limiting of doctors coming into the medical field is something that Bam was talking about previously. And I know you like feel pretty strongly about that. So if you can talk about that in a second. Two, just because I haven't done it yet, just an outward guys, if you support the channel, if you like the conversation, if you've been sitting here for a few hours, been with us, consider supporting the channel. First, hit the follow button here if you haven't done so yet. Consider doing that. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitch. Be part of this community and make sure notifications are on so you know when I'm going live. We're doing more streams. And we'd love to have you there, right? Beyond that, consider supporting the channel monetarily if you can. Super chats are great, so we appreciate the last super chat. Membership, YouTube memberships are good. Or if you are on Twitch, consider using a subscription, getting bits, getting subs. Any of that good stuff allows me to continue going. So consider support like the subscription board is empty still, so consider helping us out. If you find yourself coming back here often and you're getting value out of this, we do need your help. So consider subs to the channel, getting bits or getting subs. You can ad free viewing, you go to emotes, and when we're doing like we did that open panel on Friday, you can join those open panels. You can just hop right in if you are a channel sub. So we're going to try to do more of those again. So if you enjoyed our very long panel then and you'd like to be a part of that, consider also supporting the channel that way. We do need your assistance. Okay, so I'll let Gibbs jump in, and then like to it if you could comment on the medical thing. Go ahead, Gibbs.
Yeah, just real quick, going back to the regulation thing, I'll tell you one now. Now that I've sat here and thought about it, was a few years ago. This is the one that I dealt with a lot. Was the like what we had to do with our cattle, in order to label it properly, right? Like, and so say like a chicken, the one everybody thinks of as like free range chicken, right? I don't grow chickens. Some like aunts and uncles do, but they would have to jump through a ton of hoops, whatever. And what's the one now they have? What's the that's the called where you can't? Yeah. What was it?
Age free.
Yeah, that one. And then there's another one you can like apply for to get where you don't have any of the steroids and shit. And now I don't give my cattle any steroids. They're just you let them out there. They eat alfalfa cubes, and they or that's what we call them. And then they eat fucking hay and grass. And I mean, I like don't fit the requirements for any of these things, even though we've never given any of our cattle any steroids. I don't like we barely give them any antibiotics unless they're like sick. I'm not shooting them injected, and we don't qualify for like a lot of these. Now I don't care because most of my cattle are sold straight to Saltgrass and HEB, and so they just go straight to them. And I think they're probably what you're getting is the ground beef, whatever. I don't give a shit. But like if y'all are like you're going to get the T-bone steak at like Saltgrass, probably not mine. You might get a burger for my shit, right? Like, so I'm not worried. I already got contracts. But some of my aunts and uncles and shit, cousins and whatnot, they don't have it. And they've tried to get these different regulations like changed even within state and like a national level to try to get these animals because their animals should be classified as this, but they're never going to be because some guy out in the middle of I don't know Washington is like, hey, this chicken needs to have 60% whatever to be considered free range, even if it's like a chicken living out in the middle of nowhere. So that's pretty much. There's a lot of those kind of weird things with ranchers and farmers, depending on whatever you specifically
really
graze. Like
it's every
like
industry, dude.
Yeah, and like I don't grow anything except for what they call coastal, which is a grass. Right, and we'll turn it into hay bales. Sometimes I'll sell extra because there's so many regulations around like what you can do with like corn and like I can't grow corn, but like any of the like products you can grow in my area, like all those different things, they have like a lot of regulations. Yeah. So I just like it's not worth it.
Yeah, even one of the most amazing things is when I was in California, it seemed like every month a different inspector would come by the shop with their hand out for a check to give me a sticker or a certificate or something. The dumbest one, and this is actually why I closed the shop in California. The dumbest one was I had this guy show up at the shop, and I happened to be there. I don't know why I was there, but I just happened to be there. And he shows up at the shop, and he's like, "I'm here to check your pressure vessels." I'm like, "I don't have any pressure vessels. I don't know what you're talking about." It says here you have 3 air compressors. Those are pressure vessels. And I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah. It cost me $150 for him to put a sticker over the previous sticker on commercial, or I guess are commercial grade air compressors that you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's or where the fuck ever."
Did he inspect them or did he just put a sticker? Like
He literally just put a sticker on them.
Okay.
And I was like, this is the biggest, and that was just I mean, dude, we had the smog machine had to be certified every so often, which it didn't really need it, but they, it's just a cash grab by the government. I really hate it.
Wait, doesn't that remove liability from you though? Just real quick, like you're regulated to have these things certified, right? If this person comes and checks them, but he doesn't do his job, and then something happens, you can put the onus on them, no? I'm asking.
You would want it to work that way.
Yeah.
I think in a perfect world it would, but it never works. It's just like they have an association called the BAR, the Bay Area Auto Repair something, and the BAR, and that's where all your customer can complain about your work, and they'll come out and they'll talk to you. The customers think that these people have legal authority over us, and I can tell them to go pound sand, and the only thing they can do is write a report back to the customer saying whether or not they believe that they should sue me and what they could be a witness to as in theory an expert witness, and what they saw, whatever. And I've never had a bar agent not side with me, but it makes but they get paid by the public to tell the public that we've done our jobs. It's basically how it works. It's just nuts. It's crazy.
That's like most certification these days. It's ridiculous. Look, car registration fees are bullshit. Traveling, not driving. I wish that was the case. We could live that life.
Live that life.
Traveling, not driving. You're one of those guys.
I guess. I guess. What specifically are you asking for? Like when you're talking about non-competes exist to
no, it wasn't non-compete. It's spam.
Unrelated.
No, I know. Okay. So they exist to like protect the company, and there's like negative effects from that. But there's also this concept that hospitals are artificially lowering the supply of physicians as opposed to what the market would dictate, right?
Yeah.
He said that you had said before prior that happens with lawyers, like the bar association, limiting the number of people.
No. I mean, it happens with doctors. I know the American Physician or the American Association of Physicians, and a couple other agencies and some licensing agencies do limit and at least have historically limited people in the profession. And there is some
how many per year, right?
Something along those lines. Yeah, it's a mix of limits per year, but then also like there's also capped Medicare. How many can train under Medicare is also capped. There's a couple other caps that apply. And
are you familiar with this enough? Because I had a nurse tell me once that hospitals were limiting the number of doctors they were hiring so they could hire more nurses and nurse practitioners in their place, and they pay them far less than doctors, and so they may have like 10 of these nurse practitioners on a floor and 1 doctor to see 60 patients or however many.
I don't know about far less. About saying if someone's an MP, you're gonna pay them. I about to say if anything, I would rather just have residents than pay MPs. Because a resident may make 65, 70K. An MP starting out at 120. A lot of places these days.
Yeah, no, it pays well, but in terms of attorneys, there's really not really a comparable situation.
Yeah,
but I haven't heard about that with attorneys.
There's a little bit of a glut, I think, in the market. Actually, there's a little bit.
Well, yeah. So you're correct. But like you had talked about the thing with physicians, and you apparently were quite passionate about that. Like you wanted to get rid of now I remember what the thing was.
I think you're thinking about Scott.
No.
Yeah,
No. I'm thinking of Lactoid. The thing that I know you were pissed about or want to get rid of is like having, I guess, people forcing people to like to pass the bar in the first place, saying that like if you're an unregulated lawyer, right, like that you could just advertise, hey, I haven't passed the bar or anything, and then maybe you work at a lower fee. And you can take that risk one way or the other. That's what.
Well, I say that about all licensed professions. I think that anybody in a quote unquote licensed profession should be able to do the job as long as they adequately inform the person ahead of time that they don't actually have a license and that they can explain their own training. I think this is especially true when it comes to lawyers.
Well, I mean, the closest thing you have a law school, you still have to pass the bar, but there's non-accredited law schools. Across the country.
which are the big. I mean, it's just like if you can't turn it into some kind of like money making like endeavor, it's just not going to be worth it.
Yeah, their pass rates at those schools are ridiculously low. Like they go like years without getting a person to pass. But you know, if you could get your get your JD for $900,
a lot of them are scams. There's a lot of scams out there. You got to be careful. Like only go to a law school that's accredited. Only go to a law school that's. I mean, frankly, I would say that any kind of law. I'm just going to kind of speak very broadly here. Any kind of law school that's not
check your OBS, Lactoid.
Yeah, check your frozen. Hey, Sociologic, I got to ask you a question, man.
What up?
But you're not frozen for me. You're frozen for me.
I know, but you're frozen for us.
The bar is on you, Lactoid.
What happened? How Grid?
Oh, how old are you, man? You're like 30?
33.
33. Okay.
What's up?
Am I still frozen?
I was just kind of curious. Jesus. I tell people all the time that depending on how old you are, one of the best careers you can get into right now is to be an airline pilot, just be an aerial bus driver. You walk out, you can actually get the training. It's about $70,000 in training, but you can get an airline to pre-hire you and pay for it. And you walk into a job making $90,000 a year, and there's a shortage of pilots right now.
That sounds sick.
I always and you cap out at about 250, 300 a year, but you make that for the entire. But you cap out in like 3 or 4 years. It's not like you cap out in 15 years.
I don't know how old you are, Grid.
If you're like
Grid, I don't know if we should be letting Ali pilot no planes. All right, I'm just saying.
Oh my God! Yeah. Oh no!
Allah Akbar!
Oh no!
I'm coming for you, baby. Listen, Grid's low key Sharia. You don't know.
No,
I'm not.
Yeah,
but like I heard that those. I've heard people say that for years. They say like, "Oh yeah, go be a pilot, go be a pilot." But I heard if you're like not former military, if you're not former Air Force, the gateway to get in is like
that's 30-year-old information, man. You can go like Sun and Fun is in Lakeland in Florida, like in a month. You can go down there. There will be airlines pre-hiring people all weekend.
Someone zero experience, just like, hey, I want to be.
Well, they're gonna
you walk in, and obviously you have to look like you can actually do it, right? Like you probably shouldn't roll up with a walker and a cane or anything. It's probably going to be a disqualifier. But there's some testing you have to do. But
I feel seen.
The school's only like 6 months. It's pretty easy. Flying's easy. Like
Lactoid, you were saying
it is. I'd be shocked.
Lactoid, quickly, because I know some people have got.
I'll look into that, Grid, by the way.
So we'll wrap this up soon.
Hey, man, I hate to see you unemployed.
Before we leave.
I'm not. I'm just always looking for work, man. I'm always.
I do want to ask a question before we leave.
There we go.
Okay.
It's a little bit unrelated.
Okay. Well, before then, right? Well, two things. One, Gibbs, if you have to go, then
I do have to go. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Always fun to be here. Love coming on Mondays. Everybody, lots of fun stuff coming. Check out Prime. If you like the shit, donate, sub. We can't do it without y'all. Thanks again for having me. Y'all will be good.
Have a good one, man. Be safe.
You do. Don't buy Baron Coin. Don't buy.
And two, Lactoid, you were gonna make finish your point on the accreditation of the school. You said to be honest, and then you were gonna say something else.
It is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean. First of all, I'm sorry for my technical issues. I think that after the last debate, the Ukrainians are hacking me.
Be honest.
Yeah,
I mean they hacked Elon. Now they're hacking me. It sucks, dude. They've launched full scale cyber warfare. But in terms of what I was talking about, I wouldn't, unless you're talking like a law school that's like somewhat up there in rankings. I don't know if it'd really be worth it to even go, just because of the way the market's looking right now. Like, I I normally don't even tell people like to go to law school if they're not getting LSATs above 155 these days, right? I mean, and that's kind of on the higher end comparatively, but you got to really be above that if it's really gonna be worth your time and money, just because it's expensive and the jobs just aren't there in the same way they were before.
Yeah, hold on. But you were saying previously that like, hey, you should look out for these other schools that aren't accredited, right?
Yeah,
Because they're mostly scams. But wouldn't that go against your thoughts on like getting rid of accreditations in general? Like you should
no,
have.
I would recommend people to not do it because they're spending a fuck ton of money to do a career that's not going to be worth it.
And
But
the
like,
current
what,
state of things.
yeah, in the
it is
current
a
state of
scam
things.
right now,
Yeah, what I'm saying is I want to create a system in which you could have somebody, let's say like a prisoner, right? Who sometimes prisoners know the law better than some lawyers, just because they
They're
have nothing
very
to do
well
all
read.
day. Yeah, they're just sitting in a prison library, just reading law all day. And so if they, get out and they're pretty smart, these prison lawyers can be pretty smart, and they can't be lawyers usually because they can't pass character and fitness. But if they wanted to give legal advice to people, as long as people knew their background, I don't see a problem with
No,
that.
no, 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 no. I'm okay, and I'm okay with that, right? In fact, we've had the conversation before, and I agree with you. But in terms of accreditation of the schools, right? Like you would say that, well, we shouldn't even have accreditations, right? Like, or we
You
should.
could have like a private institution like accredit them, and it could be like accreditation. Really, accreditation could just function like Yelp,
Function like a what? Sorry, you're still
like
breaking up a
like
little bit.
like Yelp.
Like Yelp. Okay. Gotcha. Oh, I see. So actual customers going through making ratings and the
like
the
there's an
the
example of
aggregate
this.
of that. Yeah, sure.
So like yoga, for example, there isn't like a national certification or like a state cert. There's no like testing for it, but there is a yoga board that regulates like, okay, you have these certain amount of hours you're allowed to teach. But there isn't like a national certification or anything like that. It's just like a private board that like is handling the accrediting for the license.
Why don't we leave it here? Lactoid is just having so much trouble. It's falling apart here.
Yep.
And
The thing is, none of you are lagging for me. Am I really coming across like pretty bad for you guys?
Really bad. Your
Yeah,
screen is
that
frozen
was
and you're like
actually
robotic.
painful.
That's wild. Like I'm functioning perfectly from my end. You guys are functioning perfectly.
But it's an improvement. No, I'm just kidding.
What's your chat saying, Lactoid? What's your chat saying?
My OBS keeps disconnecting and they keep getting kicked
Yeah,
out. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we wrap it up here then? Thanks all for coming through. I'll give you guys all an outro. But thanks for coming through. This has been really fun. Like I'm always have faith in this group to come up with a great conversation, and we've had like several great conversations just rolling here. I mean, like it just never slows down. This group, and it's just because you guys are great at doing this. Every single one of you are really great at having these discussions and getting across your opinion and doing so in a fun manner. So shout out to all the participants here. But let's give an outro to Lagtoid while he can still make it, right? Send out a message, maybe through a bottle, right? Like a message about that might be faster.
is my voice is it just
Up
my
on a
video? Or can you hear my
string.
voice? Okay?
You sound like a robot, but
Yeah, you're roboting.
You might as well just say it.
How about now? How about now?
So far a little bit, but yeah, just go ahead. We can
All
understand
right,
more.
I'm closing shit out. Okay, all right. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
more or less.
All right.
Yes.
Sorry again. I'm being hacked by the Ukrainians. Find me at Lactoid TV. I really appreciate all of you guys talking to me and for the extent I was able to. And I look forward to next time. It might not be next week. I'm actually going to be out for a family emergency. It kind of sucks, but I will be back at some point, and I look forward to seeing you guys then.
I'm sorry, friend.
Sorry to hear that, man.
You
Hope
say
all is well.
Danger Will Robinson.
Likewise.
I don't know, like, how your family feels about debates, but I think they go well with funerals. So I think maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But sorry, friend, honestly, that you're going through whatever this might be. And shout out to you. We'll hope to have you again soon.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Prime.
Yeah. Let's go to our friend Corey. Thank you for being here. And for being our premier Canadian, right? Unlike this faker over here. Premier Canadian. Thanks for being here, friend.
Yeah, always grateful to be here. Never take it for granted. Even though I guess now we're political enemies since trying to annex us. But I don't take it personally. I know Americans are just jealous of Canada, as they should be. But yeah, as always, this is great. You can find me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram. It's Corey Campbell, and also on Substack, it's Corey Campbell. I'm working on my second piece. And the only thing I guess I'll say in terms of closing thoughts, I think it's interesting, in my opinion, sort of the lack of kind of long-term planning from people, let's say Grid One, okay, where they bring up, I think explicitly examples of Japan and Germany and like the automotive industry, and like they're in shambles or they cannot compete with China. And he thinks the United States can't compete with China, and we'll see how it plays out. But already, okay, China is already on the verge of outcompeting the United States. I think China, in terms of automotive industry and EVs, I think they're number 4, right behind Stellantis as like number 3, which is American, and like that's just a meteoric rise. And if you think that United States with its population can compete with a population that's 4 to 5 times bigger, well, we'll find out. But I think I might be wrong, but I think history will be on my side. But yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you so much, Prime, Sociologic, iCal Rich, Grade 1 Motorsports, Bam, always a pleasure. Love you, Prime.
Shout out to you. And yeah, I've been following the automotive industry, and the China's rise in this field is like unbelievable.
Don't worry, bring back bring back internal combustion engine manufacturing to the United States. Like that's 5D chess. That's out of this world chess.
It's unbelievable, and like I think our dominance there, that will be a thing of the past very, very, very quickly. But shout out to you, and let's go to our friend Bam, who are happy to have you on the stream. We haven't had on the channel for a little bit, but it was glad to have you here. It was really fun talking with you. You did a fantastic job coming up with topics and just like keeping the conversation going. But you always do that, Bam. So I'm always very grateful to have you.
No, I appreciate it. Like I haven't been in a while, so I was like, dang, let me go see what my people up to. Really fun conversation. I think. The reason there's so much to talk to is because, unfortunately, not for a good reason, there's so much going on. Like, even in my head now, I was thinking like, oh crap, I wish I would have asked people how they felt about AOC and Republicans looking to cap interest rates on credit cards at 10%. Because I think that I think I could be swayed either way. I think there's massive pros and cons to both. But either way, maybe next time. There's always another great conversation.
Yeah, there's always every week. So we'll be back and we'll have more talks. So you should stick around, audience members, and follow the channel. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to do that before you head out, because we're always having these conversations, and we love to have you here as well. Grade 1, you were fantastic. You were really great this week. Honestly, just want to hand it to you. We had a lot of great back and forths, and I really do appreciate you sharing your experiences in the business world. It's actually quite valuable. So thanks for all that.
Yeah, no problem. No, and I try really hard not to talk about it too much, but it's such an integral part.
Mm-hmm.
So it ends up coming out no matter what. Once again, it's a good week. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I got stuck in traffic, and you guys were going to be so far along by the time I got here. I was like, I'm not. Nah, who cares? I'm done.
No worries.
But it was a good time. Always happy to have good discussions and a little bit of back and forth. It's interesting how people can look at the same thing from so many different directions, and that's always very interesting to me. So, there we go. That's about it. And you guys have a great rest of your week. Have a good time.
Out. We got it. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah, I'm tired.
No problem. Aiko, thank you for coming through. Loved your insights, especially on Ukraine, right? I love anyone who tells Lactoid he's wrong about anything.
Yeah.
It all automatically makes my day. But thanks so much, Ben.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, enjoyed being here too. Another thing that came up that I didn't really get a chance to respond to was that conversation that touched upon Texas energy that came up sort of briefly. 1.2% of our grid power now comes from batteries. Just want to say, which is a very large. In case that doesn't sound big to you, that's actually very big. So yeah, Texas is.
It's a Texas-sized power grid. That's a lot of goddamn batteries, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that scary?
Well,
I don't know what the right percentage of that is to know. Like to have. I don't have any.
I've been waiting for a long time. My personal thing to wait for is when it hits 2%, because when it's 2% batteries, then what that basically means is that wind and solar can dominate totally. Because the only thing that the downside to wind and solar is, of course, is always that it's not reliable, but it is reliable when combined with batteries. But people have been saying for years that batteries can't get that big; they can't grow. Okay. They've been growing tremendously fast here in Texas.
I'm patting myself on the back for asking that question about perspective, because a lot of times people sit in the room and they act like they have any context for what's going on. It's okay to acknowledge that I don't really know. What does that mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Rich, is the battery increase, is that because of the outage that Texas suffered a few years ago?
Yes, in 2021, we absolutely started investing in batteries immediately after that. There are a bunch of other stuff that we should have done too, like we should be insulating our natural gas pipelines, and we haven't been doing that. Sure. There's a bunch of stuff we should be doing that we're not doing. But one thing that we are doing that's great is battery, because essentially one of the things that actually people don't realize sort of helped a lot when that thing happened was that the only form of power generation that overperformed during that winter storm was solar. And that seems counterintuitive to everybody, because they were like, wait, didn't the snow just cover up all the panels? But no, that's not how it works. Basically what happens, there's no moving parts in solar panels. So the fact that it froze doesn't affect its performance at all. So, but the problem with solar, of course, is that it's intermittent. But when you combine it with batteries, suddenly it's reliable over time. So that's why it's a big deal that we're investing in batteries here.
Thank you, Cronus1, for the 1,000 bits on Twitch. Much appreciated. That's really kind of you. And then finally, Ali, thank you as always for bringing your energy and your perspective on these things. That's why I'm always inviting you back.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's I go by Sociology. You can find me, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all the things. I come on here and you know what? I want to be wrong. That's the thing. It's like it gets called cope. I want to be wrong. Okay, I want to be wrong. But I just get proven right every single step of the way. And so it's just like I feel like an oracle, but it's depressing. It's a catch-22. It's like I see it coming. I want to stop it from happening, but no one will come to my side. But yeah, Prime, thanks for having me, guys. It's always a pleasure arguing with you. It's my favorite day of the week.
Absolutely. That's really kind. I'm always happy to hear you guys say things like that. Lets me know that creating an environment that you guys enjoy that is valuable. Okay, all right. So as usual, we will try to find someone. You know what? Let's raid my good friend Lila Water Kai. Right, not a beautiful woman, right? A handsome man. But he's just a really good guy, really great part of the community, and I love to support him. He just got started with his stream, so let's go over there and hopefully support him. So everyone, stick around for that raid. It will get started soon, because it just always takes my computer forever. But we're building up to a raid. Just wait calmly. Any second, we're going to have that raid, and then I can send you off